and I'm from Perth, Australia.
My name is Oindrila and I'm from India.
Hello everyone, my name is Aman Vijbhushan Tiwari.
Hey, I'm Kiran Panjwani, a third-year computer science student studying at DHSFI University in Karachi, Pakistan.
Hello, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Adab. मैं हूं मनीष कुमार बर्नवाल and I am from Kolkata, which is also known as City of Joy in India.
In your local community, you get to connect with other students, you get to learn from other students, and you get to interact with more people.
What I'm looking for in the Student Summit, in addition to improving my technical skills, it's to be able to connect with other students around the world who are making an impact.
What I hope to get out of this summit is engagement and connection with other Microsoft Learn student ambassadors.
I'm inspired to innovate by the slightest belief that my work can improve the work efficiency of fellow students and the state of my community.
Another thing that inspires me to innovate is the obvious need to make the world a more habitable place and make technology more accessible to everyone.
I am inspired by the current problems that we come across daily in our lives and how people come in to solve these problems harnessing the power of technology.
I cannot wait for the Microsoft Student Summit because I know I'm going to meet more people, I'm going to learn more, and obviously I'm going to interact with people from across the globe, not only Kenya. Yeah, and I'm so excited. I can't wait.
So I hope you guys are really going to have a great learning and awesome time here at Microsoft Student Summit. So enjoy!
Hey all, welcome to Microsoft Student Summit. I'm super excited to kickstart this amazing evening. I know this is Friday evening, Dasara holidays for all of us, and we are all coming back from holiday. It's something which very difficult for us to get back to the tech and learning mode, right? So you can also see me, right? I know I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different laptops. You might think I'm a DJ. I'm not, right? I'm not DJ. I'm a techie. This is for making sure that this event is available for everyone across India and other places. And we have people joining us from all over the place. So that's really good to see. And let me share my screen and let's get started with the event, right? Cool. So let me bring up my screen. I hope everybody is able to see my screen. Cool. So again, welcome. I am the local host. That's an interesting slide because I'm Vivek. I'm senior cloud advocate, but you see, I'm the local host. So somebody who is a developer made this amazing slide, right? It's local host. What is local host for a developer? Anyone? I'm one of you. Home, right? Come on, you don't get the joke. Yeah, it's a good sense of humor, right? Perfect. Yeah, so I'm Vivek again, senior cloud advocate, and we have a bunch of things today. And going to, before we get started with this event, I just want to make sure I read out the code of conduct. This event is obviously governed by the code of conduct. Be aware of others, be polite when you're talking to others in chat. Don't post some random answers in the chat. It's basically for you to learn. The whole session is for you to learn, and whole Microsoft has put this up to make sure that you get something out of these sessions and meet amazing set of people. So make sure that you take care of that. Spend some time on this slide, and also obviously we would have posted this in the chat as well for the online audience. So go ahead and read as well. So this is a Menti test. Okay, so for people who are online, you can easily go to this. This is Menti, and there is a code. And for all of you who are here in person, please take up this whole thing. And what we are looking at is, I want to know, how, from where people are joining us, right? From where all we are joining. Obviously, most of you are in India, but people are joining us from other places. I see in the chat, people have joined from a lot of places. Pune, I see, specifically, I'm talking about India. It's Pune and bunch of other places. Like who, where? I mean, like the chat is just booming. So it's like so many chats going on. So everybody's saying hello, 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 hello. So it's a big set of things. So let me see the result. Let's see the results. Has it started? No. Let's start it. Cool. Not bad. 40 of them are in India. 43. Let's get going. Let's get going. Come on. We have so many people joining in from West Bengal, some from Sri Lanka, some from Bidar. Amazing. Assam. Okay, this is great. So let's move on to the next segment. Of course, we'll keep watching this. It's great to see people joining from different places, which is really good. And let's get started with the next set of questions, because I have something important to ask you all. What are you studying? So if you go to the Menti tool, for people who have joined online, if you go to the Menti tool, you can basically answer this as well. So the same Menti tool which you're using right now, just go on and answer this question. So what are you studying? You're able to get it right? Everyone here online, are you able to answer this? Great. Amazing. I see amazing set of people. Computer science, computer science, computer science. We need to bump up business. Somebody should be studying business. Come on. Citizen developers. We are looking for citizen developers here in this event. Okay, this is great. I have one more question. Stay in the Menti tool. I have one more question. Okay. What year are you studying? Wow. That's an interesting one. There is others, which is great. I see somebody saying cybersecurity. They're studying cybersecurity in the chat. It's amazing. Cool. Great. Thank you for answering these questions, because this will give us an idea of what audience we have, so that we can curate our content to the right set of audience. Thank you very much. So let me get started. So what we have today. What we have started today is what's coming up. Basically, Keynote from the founders, Jenny from the Deep Source founder is here. He's going to talk about his journey, and we have a career panel. We have cloud, introduction to the cloud. We have GitHub, and we have Azure Static Web App. We're going to run through the launch and winner panel, active imagination, collaboration, activity. In fact, basically it's going to be an activity for all of us, so we're going to do it hands-on, some design thinking activity as well. So basically, before we start, I want to start with a very cute discussion between two people. One is who joined Microsoft pretty newly, and the other is basically have done amazing at Microsoft and has done so much of work. It's basically a chat between Khushboo Verma and Scott Hanselman. So I'm going to bring in that video first before I go into the next segment. Let me remove myself and start with this.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Global Microsoft Student Summit. I am Khushboo Verma and today I'm joined by Scott. Hey Scott, how are you doing?
I'm very well, how are you?
I'm doing excellent as well. So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I'm just excited to be here to talk to all the young people at the Student Summit, the folks that are early in career that are coming in today. We're going to hear from all kinds of folks about their journey into tech. And I'm excited that you and I kind of represent the best of Microsoft, both people who've been here a long time and people who are just getting started.
Yeah, that's so exciting, that students here are here to interact with their local student communities and hear from Microsoft leaders, cloud advocates, MVPs, and Microsoft Learn student ambassadors. So why don't we start with your journey into tech?
Well, I'm not sure. We should compare journeys, I think, you and I. So the first time I ever saw a computer, I was 12, and my grade 5 teacher brought a computer into the room that the entire room could share. So we didn't have individual computers, but we had one computer that we could all take turns on, and we had a sign-up sheet. We could say, I'm going to use the computer at 4 o'clock. When was the first time you ever saw a computer?
I think I was also in school at that time when I first saw a computer, but my first interaction with programming wasn't until I was in class 9th or 10th when I first got to know what HTML was, CSS was. I think that was my first interaction with computers. But I think the students here today who are joining us might have had, different experiences with computers as well. Some of them might have been introduced early on. Some of them might be having their first interactions lately.
And that's what's exciting, is that so many different people came into tech in different ways. Some people, their first computer might be a phone or a tablet. It might have been a laptop. It may have been one that was given to them, or it may have been one at the library that they would visit, like me.
Yep. In fact, I remember when I was in school, I was least interested in tech. And today I am a software engineer at Microsoft. And I think communities have played such an important role in my journey, because when I entered university and I got exposed to these wonderful communities, especially Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador community, I got, exposed to such diverse set of opinions, such diverse set of ideas, possibilities to learn, and so many resources. So I no longer felt like I was restrained to any demographic or any university. I had the internet, I had all the resources, and all I had to do was learn. So, what advice do you have for the students who are joining us today? How can they learn to the best of their capabilities and make the best out of this summit?
I think that you said it right when you said it was about community, right? Once you find computers, you find tech, the next step is to find your people. And your people might be based around your identity or your location. It might be based around your technology. So you might want to find your C# people, right? Or you might want to find your university, study group, and then spend time with them, whether it be virtually, like we are right now, or if you can, in person. When I was coming up, we found user groups and get-togethers, right? And being able to have just a dinner or a lunch with like-minded people to talk about tech is so important, because it reminds us that we're not alone. And when our students from the Student Summit here perhaps come and join Microsoft in the future, they might initially feel very alone, like, okay, now I've made it, I'm inside, I'm at a big company, now what do I do? The way that you solve that is by finding friends and colleagues to work with, to study with, and for support. And that support is so important. And that's why it's great to have student summits like this to let people know that they're not alone.
I completely agree to that. And I think one of the best things about working at Microsoft is the growth mindset that, the company promotes. So it's like we embrace challenges. We are not afraid to try out new things or step out of our comfort zone. And this is something that I would also tell to my younger self, right? Someone who was absolutely afraid to go out and meet new people, try out new things, or, stepping out in uncomfortable positions and trying to learn something new and having that fear of being a beginner. But I think that here we have this growth mindset, and it means that, okay, we can embrace our failures and we can be a beginner at something. But if we rely on each other, if we go and ask for help, and if we network with the right set of people, then there's nothing that can't be achieved.
I'm curious, how do you how do you ask questions inside the company and be not worried that someone will judge you because you're asking a dumb question? Because I don't think there's any dumb questions, and I want people to ask. But I'm curious, do you ever feel like nervous? I don't want to ask that question.
Oh, no, definitely not. I think initially I used to feel that, but I understand that the culture here is very supportive, and everyone who, joins straight out of college, it's definitely understandable that they have probably not worked on a certain set of technologies, but as far as they're comfortable with the basics and they have the curiosity to learn, they can figure things out. So I think most of us here are figuring things out every single day, and the peers here are very supportive. So if someone comes up to me and asks me for help, I would be more than happy to help them. And similarly, if I go to someone, they are always so supportive that I've never felt like, I am shy of asking questions or anything. And this is what I would suggest to, people who are here today as well, that if you're starting out, ask as many questions as you can, because as Scott mentioned, there are no wrong questions or no dumb questions.
Yeah, I think another thing that you said that I think is very important is understanding the basics. So like, what are the basics? I think a lot of folks, when we are learning in school, we focus on for loops and syntax and this language and that language, but we kind of forget about characteristics of computers. How much latency is in a system, memory, CPU, network, no matter what language you're using, no matter what system you're building, these things are all still computers. So understanding the basics, do you think that's a really important part of being a software engineer?
Oh, yes, definitely. There are so many technologies that I've worked on so far. And the only thing that I've understood is that if you are comfortable with the basics of one language, then it is very easy for you to switch between multiple languages. I remember when I was in university, I was so confused whether I should get started with web development or should I get into Android development or should I pick up machine learning? Because there are so many technologies and everything is evolving so fast that it's almost impossible to know everything. But one thing that I've learned so far in my journey till here is that if you're comfortable with the basics, if you understand problem solving, then there is no such problem that you can't solve.
Yeah, problem solving is a big important thing. And the fact that what's the difference between an early in career and a later in career person? Is it that I know more? It's actually the fact that I've been able to exist in this space for a long time. So when it seems like I know stuff, it's really that I've just seen it before. And that's what's great, because we want you, Khushboo, and we want our friends who are going to come and join us at some point in Microsoft to stick around for 5, 10, 20 years so that they too will have the gift of having seen it before. And the difference between an early in career engineer who maybe will go and Google with Bing for the instructions and the answers, and someone who's been around a long time is just that I've seen it before. So I don't have to search because I'm like, oh, I remember 5 years ago when I hit that same error. And I want everyone to have that feeling of knowing the answer.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, there are so many things that even I'm getting comfortable with. So that is the thing that you just figure out in the process. There will not be any point where you'll have figured everything out. So it's the journey, and you'll keep on figuring out things every single day. But Scott, I have one more question for you. What is some advice you would give to people who are attending today? How can they make the most out of this summit?
I would see if you can connect with some people. We're going to see folks on social. We're going to have opportunities to meet and chat with people. Find a natural opportunity to find your tribe. Find your group of people that are interested in the technology or the social change that you're interested in, and see if you can spend some time with them. Because when the summit's over, what happens then? Right? So maybe the summit happens and you can connect with your student ambassadors on the campus that you're at. Or maybe you go and join a local user group that isn't a student-based user group and start to slowly enter that professional space.
Yes, I totally agree. Like, even at the Microsoft Student Summits that I have attended as a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, the best thing that I found about it was the collaborations that resulted after the summit. So I meet people from different backgrounds, different universities, even different nationalities. And then the collaborations that come out of those events is something that I forever cherish, because it gives me an understanding into how different communities operate. And I do understand that each local community has its own different set of challenges, problems, and their own goals and visions. And the exposure that these events lead us to, I think it's wonderful. And I should think everyone should leverage this opportunity to make the most out of it, network with the right set of people, and learn as much as they can.
Yeah, you're very wise, Khushboo, and I think that our friends who are here at the Student Summit can learn a lot from you and your journey. So I appreciate you bringing me along for the ride this morning.
Thank you so much for being here. And now let's hand it over to our local hosts.
That was amazing discussion between two people, right? We were just listening to them without moving. I hope that is the same experience for people who have joined us online. And let me bring my slide back. So I have a wonderful question for everyone. Go back to your mentee and let us know what you're most excited about this summit, what you're looking forward in this summit. Great stuff. There are a bunch of things people are looking forward to. Connecting with other students, learning about Microsoft technology. Very good. We have everything here. Career advice, I'm happy to give that anytime, right? Resources for students, we have it. I'm going to share a lot of resources by end of this event. Applying my skills, that's the thing. Amazing. So let's go ahead and do it. Perfect. So let me go back to my slide. I know I'm switching between so many screens and so many stuff here. People who are here in person, they know that I'm looking like a DJ for them right now. Again and again, right? Perfect. So let me bring in Sanket, who is the co-founder. So Sanket, you're there. I'm bringing you in. Welcome to Student Summit. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Vivek.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for coming in, Sanket. And Sanket is, founder of Deep Source, an amazing company. I'll let him talk about his journey as not just as a startup founder, but also his tech journey and what inspired him to, build a startup and other things. So, thank you for taking time out. I know you're amazingly busy, and thank you for coming here. And the stage is yours. You shared your screen?
Yeah, I can share my screen right away. Just give me one moment. Yep. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I have added you.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Vivek. Thanks for the opportunity. Shall I begin?
Yep. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity and calling me here. I'm happy to be here, and it's great to be part of this conference, the summit. Um, uh, just like a quick introduction, who I am. I'm one of the founders of Deep Source. At Deep Source, we are building tools that help developers write better code. I started this company almost 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, and as someone who has started this startup, I've been through the entire professional journey of doing multiple things. I have been a developer and a designer, and then now I've been doing sales and now product marketing. So I've done almost everything that you need to do, over the years as part of building a company. I was also honored in the Forbes 30 under 30 Americas. I studied computer science and engineering at NIT Jamshedpur, graduated in 2014. And I've been through this journey of bootstrapping a startup, which then got venture funded to growth stage 2 times since 2014. So this is my second startup, and that's a little bit of my background. So when the Microsoft Reactor team, they reached out to me, I was wondering what I could teach students, what I could tell people who are joining this conference about from my experience. And what I ended up with is some lessons from the last 8 years of building startups. And over the past 8 years, I have been through the journey of starting something from scratch and getting it to the growth stage 2 times over. The first time, it didn't really work out. The second time with Deep Source, we are having some success. So I think a lot of the things that I learned along the way, starting from my college days to what I'm doing now, and then I'm at our office in Bangalore right now, and we have a growing team. So I've learned a lot of things in the past 8 years, and I think there are some of those things, some of these principles that I have refined over time for myself. I think this is the first time that I'm talking about this, especially to students. So I hope this will be valuable. So in this talk, it's a short talk. In this talk, I'm primarily going to be talking about some of these principles, and these are things that I have learned from other people. Some of those things I've learned the hard way from my own experience, but I've been able to kind of define those into some short, memorable things that you can keep alongside as you think about what you want to do in your life or how you grow in your career and your personal life as well. So the first thing that I want to talk about is systems versus goals. So a few years ago, I read this book by Scott Adams, who is the creator of this, who was the author of this very famous comic strip called Dilbert. And the book is called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. And one of the core things that, one of the core ideas of the book is how to think about how you should think about systems in your life rather than goals. And to understand that, I've found this framework very powerful in becoming more successful or achieving what you want to do. If you just have a different mindset when you're thinking about what you want to do. So a very simple way to understand this, and I totally recommend reading this book, but a very simple way to understand this concept is when you think about what you want to do in your life, it could be something personal, it could be something professional. Let's say, what do you want to do? It's say, for instance, if you want to lose weight, like that could be a personal goal, right? Instead of focusing on the goal, try to break it down into systems, right? So if your goal is to lose weight, your systems could be eating healthy or improving the activity in your daily lifestyle. Thinking in systems essentially helps you break things down that you can achieve every day. So let's say if your goal is to, let's say, hey, you want to be rich in your professional career. Now you're not gonna go get rich in one day, right? Like you want to become rich, or let's say you want to buy a car, you want to buy a very expensive car, or you want to go on a holiday to some exotic country that you have been dreaming about. So that's your goal. But thinking about that goal is not very helpful unless you figure out how to break that goal down into a system that helps you do that one step at a time. So this is one of those things that I've learned, and this is something that you can apply to your professional, your professional life, your personal life. Think in terms of what are the systems that you're going to build. If you want to get better, or if you want, say, a job at, say, a company that you admire, then how do you break that down to a system where, hey, you are constantly learning about a specific technology or a specific field every day, and that becomes your system, right? So that's the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and I definitely recommend reading this book if you can. The second thing, the second learning that I want to talk about is specialization. So there's this very famous quote by Robert Heinlein, which says, specialization is for insects, which means you'd be better off if you try to learn everything that you can learn, right? Now, this again, the original code did not mean it to be like this. Like on the right side, if you see on the image, this is out of a book, and this is probably this probably says that, hey, as a human being, you should be able to do everything, right? But that's not possible. In professional life, what I have realized is, hey, when you are beginning, especially when you're beginning your career, at that time, instead of specializing or trying to figure out, hey, what you want to specialize in, and focusing all your energy into doing that, you'd be better off if you try to learn multiple things. And it's better if these multiple things are of different disciplines. For instance, if you are a developer, right, or if you are learning to code, or if you're, say, studying computer science, right, while you learn to code, see if you can somehow also learn how to do design. Or on the side, see if you can learn how to write well or how to speak well, right? Because as and when you do these multidisciplinary things, right, later on, you'd be in a better position if some things don't work out. Or you'd be in a better position when you have to combine two of these things or three of these things together for you to achieve what you want to achieve. So to put it very tersely, specialization is something that should not be a goal. Try to be a generalist. Try to learn multiple things and multiple diverse things when you can. The third learning is learn how to build and then learn how to sell. So this is something that a lot of people have talked about, especially if you are active on Twitter, there's a very famous angel investor called Naval Ravikant who said this in one of his tweet threads, that if you can learn how to build and if you can learn how to sell, then you would be unstoppable. And this is something very powerful. I think especially people who are learning to code, who are learning to build software, if you can learn how to build something all by yourselves, and if you can also learn how to sell that, because you have to do selling at all times, right? If you're starting your own company, or even if you're not starting your own company, and if you're working at an organization, if it's a large organization, you are doing selling, right? Actively. If you are someone who's ambitious, you are doing selling whether you like it or not. If you're working on a project and you have some ideas, you're selling that idea to the manager or the project leader. If you're in a very small startup, you're basically giving a product idea to whoever the founder is or the product manager is, and you want to get that feature out. So you're doing selling. If you're working at a startup and you're, say, for instance, you're a leader at a startup or a large company, one of the things that you do is you go and hire people. There you are selling your vision or your company's vision to get more people in your team. So you're doing selling if you're working at a company. If you're working if you're building your own startup, then you are selling all the time. You're selling your product to the customers. You're selling your company's vision to someone who you're trying to recruit. You're selling your vision to the investors who you're trying to raise money from. And you're selling your vision to your product's vision to people who you have already hired, and you want people in your team who you want to kind of drum up and get them to build something that you want to build, right? So learn how to build and then learn how to sell. The next thing that I want to talk about is in a gist, there are no gatekeepers. So what I mean by this is, in the modern world, when internet is software is eating the world, and internet is accessible to more and more people, the only thing that you need to succeed is for you to go and build out something and put it out in the world. There are no gatekeepers for you to be successful. And the reason I talk about this is because, so I come from a humble background. I grew up in a tier 2, tier 3 city, and in Bihar, in North India. And one of the most pervasive things in the society has been that, hey, okay, you need someone's permission to succeed. Like, you need to crack an exam, you need to crack IITs, you need to crack UPSCs, or you need to crack this incredibly difficult medical test to be successful. But today, if you think about it, and that was the only thing that was there, right? If you go and talk to anyone from an older generation, this is the world that they grew up in. But today, that's not the case. You don't need to get a fancy, engineering degree. You don't need to go to the most reputed, a business school. You don't need to, go and crack an exam for you to be on your path to success. What I mean by there are no gatekeepers is it's possible for you to become successful, whatever your idea of success is. Like, you can start your own company, you can start your own blog. If you don't know how to code, you can start your own blog. If you don't know how to write, you can create videos on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok or whatever. And then you can build your own brand. So today, you don't need someone's permission. If you don't know how to do any of this, you can go start contributing to open source, right? So there are a lot of ways for you just by yourself. You can start creating things, you can start building things, and you can be on your path to success. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't even need to go to a college. You don't need to, work at the largest company because you can just go and start your own startup and you can be on your own path to financial independence. So I think this is one of my biggest learnings, and this had to be, I had to have a lot of unlearning from my upbringing in the background. And again, it's nobody's fault, but the way that we had been, like, at least my generation, we had been, brought up, this was something implicit that you need someone's permission, but that's no longer true, right? So there are no gatekeepers. While there are no gatekeepers, there are also no shortcuts. So one of those things that, if you're spending too much time online and you're following like a lot of people online, you would see that, you only see the good news. You only see people being successful. And that might give you a false sense of, availability bias that, hey, okay, you can also do, the same kind of things in the same short span of time. But that's a false sense of, again, that's a false sense of, reality. If you are someone who's ambitious, you also need to accept that you are going to fail. Sometimes people don't. Sometimes people get lucky, or there are a lot of factors. And of course, you can have a lot of success in your first shot. But that's not true for most people, right? You need to accept that there are going to be failures. There are going to be setbacks. The only thing that matters is for you to get up, get back up, and move towards whatever your goals are through the systems that you have built. So there are no shortcuts to success. And on the right side, if you see the image, so this image is from a very famous book by Ray Dalio. It's called Principles. And it's actually not from Principles, but this has been quoted in that book. And this basically, depicts a hero's journey, right? It's actually from another book that talks about this. But what this essentially means is, you set some goals, you can have success, but if you have a failure, then that failure will teach you something. And if you are someone who's ambitious and who's consciously trying to improve yourself, you'll use those learnings from the failure to improve yourself, and then you'll set some more audacious goals. And I read this book when my first startup, my previous startup, that didn't go so well. I didn't have a lot of success, and I had to leave that startup to start Deep Source that I'm doing now. But I read this book, I read this concept back then, and it kind of resonated with me. And it kind of, I felt that this is something which is very important for me to understand for myself, that, hey, I set some goal. I thought my first startup is going to be successful, but it did not. But what are the things that I can take from here? And how can I set for myself an even higher goal? That, hey, okay, the next company that I'm going to do, I'm not even going to aim for the same things that I'm doing right now. How can I do this 10x better? How can I do things 10x more bigger, 10x more audacious, right? So this is another recommendation of a book. It's called Principles by Ray Dalio. if you get the time, it's a very it's a thick book, but it's definitely worth some time spending on. So there are no shortcuts. The next learning that I'm going to talk about is acting like an owner, right? So there's this famous quote by by Julius Caesar. I think it is attributed to Julius Caesar originally. It says, if you want something done, do it. If not, give it to someone else, right? So this comes from this very famous concept, like very talked about concept called the principal agent problem. And again, you should probably, if you're interested in this topic, you should probably Google this principal agent problem. But the gist of this learning, this principle, is that whatever you are doing, then of course, if you're starting your own company, if you're starting your own business, or if you're doing something of your own, you will definitely act like an owner. So this is not in this learning is not for that scenario. This learning is for scenario when you're not starting your own thing and you're working at an organization. How do you get exceptionally successful when you're working at an organization as an employee? So this is something that a lot of people at my own company ask me that, hey, how do I be successful as a deep source employee? Like we have around 40 people right now, and we are growing, we are hiring people across all functions. But a lot of people ask me that, hey, how do I become successful as an employee at Deep Source? And this is something I tell them, that the problem, the biggest thing that you can do is act like an owner of Deep Source, which means you will figure out, you will not only look for your own, say, promotion or your own, like, how do I get the next promotion? If you start looking at the startup as a whole, and if you start thinking about, hey, whatever I'm doing, how do I get Deep Source, or how do I get my company to the next level, right? That will help you grow more, exponentially more in the company, as compared to when you're not doing it. So let's say if you're working at a large company, like say for instance Microsoft, if you're working at Microsoft, and Microsoft is a very large organization, so you might think that, hey, okay, if you join as a software engineer, you probably don't have a lot of you probably don't have any decision-making capabilities, and you're just a cog in the wheel. That's what you'll think. But starting from there, if whatever you are taking up, if you think that, hey, you are the owner and not just an employee, then you'll see things changing for you. And you will break out of the normal, career progression that you'll otherwise have, right? So the quote here, again, this is from someone on Twitter. It says, if you're an agent means if you're not a founder, or if you're not an owner, if you're an employee, the best way to operate is to ask, what would the founder do, right? If you think like the owner and act like the owner, it's only a matter of time before you become the owner. Now, this might not literally be true. You might probably not become the owner of a large company like Microsoft, but hey, maybe you can, right? But if you don't, the inverse side of this is, if you don't act like an owner, then you're never going to grow exponentially in your career. So this is something that I tell to people in my company, that, hey, for me as a founder, I think my biggest success will be that, hey, if a software engineer or a senior software engineer at Deep Source, when they leave Deep Source 2 or 3 years later, they don't go and become a senior software engineer or a principal software engineer at another company. My success will be that, hey, after spending 3 or 4 years of Deep Source, they go and become a CTO of another company, or they go and become a VP of engineering of another company. And that will be my success, because that would mean that I have helped this person grow in their career, which aligns to them growing the company enough that they can have that kind of exponential growth. And if you go and look at, this is especially prevalent in startups, there are a lot of Indian startups where there are a lot of stories where there have been people who were like, hey, they got in an early stage startup, and then they got out joining some large Series B, Series C company as a VP engineering or a CTO, or they ended up starting their own companies, right? Like, everyone talks about, like, when I came down to Bangalore and I started my first startup back in 2014. At that time, Flipkart was one of the most happening startups, because they defined the startup scene in India. And if you think about, the founders of Flipkart, they were working at Amazon, and then they moved out of Amazon and they started their own company, which was Flipkart. And then 10 years later, Walmart bought Flipkart for like a few $1 billion, and both the founders are now billionaires, right? So that is the exponential growth that being an owner can provide you, right? Be it, even if you never want to start your own company, even if you never want to become a business owner, even if you just want the safe path of being, at large companies, having the job security and whatnot, right? Even then, and especially then, you'd be better off if you act like an owner. And this is the final point, and I think this is something that I have reflected upon, and I've written an essay about it. Seek finality in what you do. Whatever you are doing, be it something in your professional life or something in your personal life, but especially in your professional life, and especially when you are working with a team, when there are other people who are responsible or who are blocked by what you do. Let's say you go and you join a company and you join a team. Always try to seek that perfection in your output. And finality, basically, the concept of finality, it means that, hey, whatever you are doing should be final, right? Like, there shouldn't be, or there could be more improvements, but you have given your best shot, right? And I talk more about this in the essay, but essentially, this is just about, people use this like, hey, going the extra mile or taking care of the details. God is in the details, and a lot of these sayings are around this. So all of this turn out, all of these kind of bubble up to this concept that, hey, if you are doing something, try to do the best that you can, and always try to push that envelope of what this best means to you. So if you're building, let's say if you're working in a team, if you're writing software, right? See if you can, make sure that you write tests. See if you can make sure that, you write documentation. Even if your team lead doesn't say so, even if nobody has asked you to write documentation, go and write that documentation, go the extra mile. If you're doing design, see if you can handle some edge cases, see if you can make things a little more refined, right? So that, even if nobody asks you, and again, this also goes back to, being an owner. If you do this, you make it easier for other people to work with you, but at the same time, you are constantly pushing the limits of what your abilities are, right? And what you can do. So that was the final thing that I wanted to talk about. Seek finality in what you do. And yeah, that's all. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your time. If you have any questions for me, you can also send me a tweet on Twitter. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. Thank you so much.
Now you can hear me, right? Thank you very much, Sanket. I resonate what you are telling here. I mean, I liked your slides because each slide had a message. I don't know, most of you noticed this. It was amazing. People who are online, you just have to make note of those. Each slide had a message, and most importantly, right, to be a polymath, right? When you're learning something, learn different skills, go about and build your skills in such a way, and obviously build your career in terms of that. And a lot of amazing points Sanket shared here. You can go back and listen to this as well. It's on YouTube, And if you missed a couple of things, go back and listen to the same thing. Sanket, thank you very much for coming here and sharing your insights. And it's our privilege to have you here. We would love to have you on a different set of shows and also in in-person meetings as well. But yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you very much. I'll share
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'll share those links with everyone. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, as Sanket mentioned, the most important thing, you if you're if you have an idea, you can go back and build a startup, right? So, you know that's the simplest thing which is provided to all of us. I'll show you how. Before that, let's take a test. So what we are providing here is the Founders Hub. So anyone with an idea, you can just go to this link and you submit your idea. And if your idea is really good, we give you credits to build it, and you can build a prototype and other things. And a lot of other things are available in the Founders Hub. There is a mentorship. There's a bunch of things. You can connect with us. We are part of here at the Reactor Microsoft for Startups team sits. So if you need any help, just reach out to us and we will be able to help you with a lot of things. So bunch of opportunities you have as a student. People have joined online. You can just go there and just register your ideas. And what is the amazing part is if you were in a hackathon, I know most of your students who always go and participate in a hackathon. You have an idea, you participate, and sometimes you have amazing ideas. You don't build it in the hackathon. You go back home and just you forget about these ideas, right? So instead of that, if you have an amazing idea, just go back and apply for the Founders Hub credits and get those credits and build a prototype and see if it is really good. Then you get a lot of opportunities to present those ideas in different places, and hopefully that becomes the next set of things which will come up as a startup here, right? That's the main thing. So now I'm going to bring in, I know there are people who want to know, like, how can we ask questions to Sanket, and other thing people are asking online. We have a packed agenda. We have 3 hours, and it's Friday evening. I know I need to make sure that we complete it in time, and also we want to make sure that it is we take care of all the things which is required to be taken care. And the most important thing here is ask questions in the chat. We will try and get Sanket to answer, or you can reach out to Sanket on LinkedIn, and if you have any questions, just drop in a message. He will be able to reply to you. Okay, so while we are discussing this, I'm going to bring in career panel. So we're going to have a career panel now, and we have an amazing set of people here. So you can see Pragati Rai, who is head of developer relations from Twilio. She's amazing, 20 plus years of experience. She has done amazing set of security related coding and other things. Maybe she might bring up her Android security code, which your phone still might have. So that's something which we will talk about. And we have Vivek Raja, who is VP of products, and obviously Vivek Raja is amazing guy He's also founding member of NextGen. He's not just VP of products, and also he's a 20 hackathon winner and Guinness World Record holder. A lot of things about Vivek Raja, right? It's obviously good to introduce Vivek Raja from Vivek Raja's, from Vivek Raja himself, right? And we have Vidushi. Vidushi is joining us from from Netherlands, I believe. I want to bring them all in now. So here is Pragati Rai, and here is Vivek, and here is Vidushi, and I'm going to move the slides too. So Vidushi is joining. Are you joining us from Netherlands?
Yes, I am in the Netherlands right now.
And I have Bethany as well. Bethany is from Microsoft. She is a cloud advocate. She's joining us from Kenya. And Vidushi is from Netherlands. That's what it is all about. This is hybrid event. People are joining us from all over the world. And we have people here in person as well. And you can say hi to everyone as well. Okay. Cool. And I'll hand it over to Vidushi. Vidushi, amazing student ambassador. And she's a gold ambassador as well. And she has done amazing work in data science related stuff. You would have heard about data science for beginners or something, which is she has contributions to that as well. So Vidushi, all over to you. I leave it to you to question Pragati and Vivek. So handing over the stage to you.
Thank you, Vivek. Hello, everyone there in Bangalore. Hi from the Netherlands. All right, so good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone, and welcome to this session on careers. In this session, we will have all of your questions answered about how do you want to have a career in tech, or what is it like to be having a career in tech. So we have a lineup of super awesome panelists here who will share with us how we can start our careers and how is it when we get there. So I'll take a brief moment to introduce our panelists. First, we have with us Vivek Raja. He is the Vice President of Products in NextGen, as well as passionate about everything Azure, data science, and data engineering. Next up, we have Pragati. She's currently the Head of Developer Relations at Twilio. Yes, and we all had a great keynote by Sanket already, who's the founder of DeepSource. A warm welcome to the panel here. To the audience that's in the YouTube chat, you all can post your questions in the comments in the YouTube chat, and I'll take them up when it's the right time. So glad to have all of you here. So the first question that I would like to begin up with is a brief introduction of who you are, what do you do in your current role, and how did you get to where you are today? So maybe we can start with you, Vivek.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Vivek Raja, Vice President of Products at NextGen. So what does NextGen do? We build brain-computer interfacing hardware and software technologies, which means we can actually predict what you think. And that's what we do. So most of you folks might have heard about Neuralink, Elon Musk. So yeah, we are the competitors for him. And I have very good connect with community for a long while since my college days. So I've been running Azure developer communities in Tamil Nadu, in India. So I run 3 communities, Chennai, Coimbatore, and Madurai. And I'm a Guinness World Record holder for debugging most number of bugs in a short while, along with 600 developers. And also I'm 16 times multi-cloud certified. I've been certified in Azure, AWS, Alibaba Cloud, and Oracle. And also since my college days, I'm very active in hackathons. So I've been participating in nearly around 60 to 70 hackathons, and I won around 20 plus international and national level hackathons. So that's the background about me, and thanks for introducing me here, and happy to be here.
Yes, Pragati, you can also go ahead and introduce yourself, and then maybe we would like to know about how did you reach where you're here today, and what is your current role like, from both of you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Vidushi. My name is Pragati Ogal Rai. Hello, everyone. Very nice to see you here. Well, how did I reach here? It's been a long journey because it's been over 23 years in tech right now. So I've done multiple roles. So I started my career as a teacher, teaching students at BITS Pilani. And then I went on to do my own startup. The startup was called Moblast. And I did it while I was doing my MS at San Jose State. And those were like early ages, like 2003, 2004, where we wanted to develop something like what Skype does, but we were super excited. So we wanted to do it on phones while Skype was trying to do it on desktops. We died a miserable death, but I was smitten with the mobile bug. So I went ahead and joined Motorola, where I was writing mobile operating systems. So that's what Vivek said. So if you have an Android phone, I really hope my code is still there, because I used to write security modules for Android operating system. After PayPal, after that, I moved on to PayPal, where I was the first Android engineer who was hired to build the Android app for PayPal. And what happened there was, as I was talking to people about mobile and how mobile is different from a traditional desktop application, because at that time PayPal was all desktop application, I found myself talking to different teams in the company, going to the compliance team, telling them, hey, we can't have the phone number as a PII, going to the database team, telling them, you can't result 1,000 plus results in one go, otherwise you'll see this loading sign keep going on your screen. And so somebody noticed that I would make for a great evangelist. And that's how I moved into a developer evangelism role, being the first developer evangelist or mobile evangelist for PayPal. That time, PayPal was a really big company. It was part of eBay Inc., and it was a group of 56 companies. So that's what I became the first mobile evangelist for all of eBay Inc. for North America. I did that for a couple of years, had a fun ride. And while on the planes, I also ended up writing my book on Android security applications. And then I relocated to India with PayPal. I spent a few more years there and then moved on to Deutsche Bank, where Deutsche Bank was trying to start engage with startups, figuring out what they are doing, what cool technologies they are working on. So I did that for the Asia Pacific region. After that, it was Microsoft. So I worked with Microsoft for a couple of years. And that's where I also met Vivek and most of the team that is here at Microsoft. So it's deja vu for me here today. And after those couple of years at Microsoft, I went on to do my own startup. That was for working with children with autism. And I did that for a year and then joined Twilio. So today what I do is I serve developers in the Asia Pacific, Japan, and Australia region. I have a team of awesome dev evangelists who I'm sure you will interact sometime in your careers. And I'll let you Google about Twilio if you haven't heard of it, but that's me and that's my career journey so far.
Yeah, I'm like blown away with both of you. Like Pragati, you're the first PayPal Android developer, and Vivek, you have a Guinness World Record. I'm like, okay. Anyway, let's go to the next question, and that is, while growing your journey and developing your way through, for example, Pragati, working through startup, building your own startup, switching roles and everything, what are some of the key roles that key skills that you can advise the students to be that were key in your career growth and development? We can start with you, Pragati, and then Vivek.
Sure. So like you would have realized, I've done 2 startups, one failed, one okay. And then I have switched multiple roles. And honestly, when I changed from one role to the other, I had really no idea what the other role really means. All I was excited about was learning something new and learning from everybody and figuring it out. So that's what I was very, very interested in. And therefore, as students, as you embark on your career journey, I think the biggest skill is really to keep an open mindset, and have confidence in you that, saying is like, all is well, and you will figure it out, as long as you have the curiosity to learn new things, and you have the agility to say, okay, I failed this time, but I'll brush it off and start it all over again. Vivek.
Yep, awesome. So, if you consider me, I'm fairly new to the industry. So, Pragati has 23 years of experience. I'm just 23 years old. So, if we ask me, how does the transition actually comes into, or what are the key roles that we really need to take? For me, the greatest skill or something that I really felt is understanding how the product really works. So, this came out unconsciously. So, I started working in hackathons. I never knew that I was actually doing product management and product development and even business development as part of hackathons. And that skill actually transferred me when I was part of the startup. So now building this startup from scratch, from the grassroots level, now having it over more than n number of customers all around the world, then I feel that the product development and the understanding of the product really helps. So for that, not just thinking that on the code wise or how we need to build it, thinking about how this product will really be an impact, or how can you structure this product that makes usability a very good feature. So thinking on those aspects will really help you to mold or develop the skills to it. And secondly, yep, the communication. So no matter how you're a developer or you're a marketing person or you're a CEO or anyone, you have to communicate what you want to really build. So the communication can be within your teammate or within your team, or it can be within your own company, or it can be within company to company as well. As long as you'll be able to communicate what you think or what you're going to do, that will really help you to achieve what you want to really build at the end of the day.
That's
Vivek, while you talk about the hackathon, let me tell you something interesting. That, you know what, Twilio was born out of a hackathon. So these were three co-founders. They were sitting together, eating pizza at the hackathon and writing code. And the first design of Twilio is behind the pizza box. So that's still framed in the office and kept. So one key thing is like to believe in what you're doing, like just like for your story as well, right? Believing that, yeah, it's just an idea, but we do believe it's an earth-shattering idea. It will change the world. And let's go ahead and make something big out of it. So, yeah, sorry for the interject.
But that's a cool fact, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. And now I see Twilio being used in every other hackathon. Me personally, sending SMSs and emails, I just prefer to use Twilio in my apps. Awesome. That was a fantastic overview of the most valuable skills in our career journeys. And I would like to ask, as you have journeyed through your career, are there any benefits that you have gained from being a part of tech communities? And why would you advise someone to be active in these communities? Over to you, Vivek.
Yes. So again, fairly a person who has been brought up and sculpted from the community and then moving to the industry, I think I'll be much more, have more insights on it. So when I actually took up this job or part of this founding team to run a startup, so I had huge responsibilities on me to build a product, run your product on cloud, and then making sure your product is always live and that it never goes down. So with these huge responsibilities, and me as a person who just doing my first job in the industry, it's really difficult and really tough. That's when this huge developer technical community was behind me. So I used to take a lot of inputs from my mentors over here, and experts from other domains like IoT, machine learning, serverless, and everything. And I used to learn a lot and implement that in my startup. So when I used to implement that, I used to face a lot of difficulties, understand where it goes wrong, or how I need to build a particular architecture, and so on. So So when these mentors help me to actually understand it, and these technical developer communities brings out sessions, tutorials, code samples that will help us to actually build a product. And now I'm actually able to do that in my own product as well. Now, when I used to build that, I used to encounter some hardships or roadblocks that maybe, yeah, this is not the right way to do it, or I have found an easier way to implement the same. So now I bring back all these learnings and give it back to the community that, okay, I try to learn and do this, and this is how I failed, or this is how I found a new way to do this. And probably you can use it in your company to make it much more better. So this was like my community and my career goes hand in hand. And I think it's been extremely helpful, and it has boosted a huge learning curve for a person with just 2 years of experience, able to handle a company that has lots and lots of products running in cloud with no downtime. I think that I can be really proud of, and I'm really grateful for the technical community as well.
Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, community is my home. So I just feel at home when I'm with my community. There's nothing like um, asking a silly question. So, like a person like me, like, like Scott Hanselman and was saying, we don't know everything, right? We can't remember everything. It's such an ever changing, ever evolving field that tech is. So if I have to learn about, let's say, Kubernetes, I'm here for like what, 1 hour, and I've heard so many new technologies that I hadn't known about. Who will I ask if not the community? So that's what I feel very comfortable in the community. Even today, going and asking questions like a beginner questions, and then also uh, giving back to the community. Just because I have taken so much from them, it's also a responsibility to give back. So for me, my community is my home. I can just hang out with them, be myself. We are quite a tribe. That's how I put it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for those answers, Vivek and Pragati. I have a question to both Vidushi and Vivek, still on in terms of community. And there's a student asking, please brief me on joining for the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. They're a bit confused about the program. So to Vidushi, I'll ask you, what is the process of joining? How can a student join in? And then to Vivek, I'll ask you, what is the benefit of the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador program? So over to you, Vidushi.
All right, thank you. There is a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador portal, which is very readily available with one search. And the applications are open all throughout the year. So the day you want to sign up for being a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, go ahead. And there's going to be a form wherein if you're a full-time university student, you are going to be eligible for being a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. And the form is going to have a few questions which you can choose to answer either textually or using a video. And just be your real self. Be clear about your goals or what you want to achieve being in a tech community. And that's it. That's your way to getting into a community that is so vast, so diverse, and you're going to learn so much. I'll hand it over to Vivek to tell the benefits of this community because they're endless.
Okay, great. So now that you know how to actually apply for a Microsoft Learn student program and become an ambassador of part of it, so the benefits, it's like it brings you industry ready to meet out the challenges out there. So as you might know, or there is a little bit of gap between your curriculum as well as the industry requirements. So I think this program is a complete bridge between the both. So you get to know about what is happening in industry at the right moment, what are the technologies that is out there, and what you really need to make yourself updated on over time. So when you complete your college or your university and you're stepping into an industry to take up your first job, you will be the person who's capable enough as well as equipped enough to take up the job to carry out as well. It does not just come up with your technical abilities, like just knowing about what is cloud or coding, but it also comes along with your non-technical abilities like communication, understanding the product, and so on. This combination of both technical as well as the non-technical capabilities makes you the perfect candidate of taking up this industry and moving up the ladder as well.
Awesome. I mean, what else can summarize a community? It's just way too helpful. I had also one question for Bethany. What does your day as a cloud advocate in Microsoft look like? And then after this, we're going to be picking up questions from the audience.
Okay, so I think I have some bit of background noise, so if it's too loud, just tell me. But as a cloud advocate, my role involves working with the community, in my case, it's students and educators, and creating content for the community. So working in probably creating blogs, videos, events, and everything else. And then the last bit is working with product groups to give them feedback from now the audience. So I've worked with students. I've told you what different offerings we have. If you need to work on Azure, so and then you come back and tell me, by the way, this stuff doesn't work. I cannot deploy my project. So I'll go back to the product team, tell them, yeah, we have a challenge here. That's basically it about a cloud advocate at Microsoft.
Okay, thank you so much. So there are multiple questions in the chat, and I'll pick up the first one. So the first one I think is for Vivek because it says, "From where should I start my cloud journey?"
Yeah. The first place where you can actually start your cloud journey is with the community. So we have the perfect roadmaps. We have all the experts and mentors who are ready to help you out to learn a new technology. So the first step you have to do is find a nearest Microsoft community or an Azure community that is available in your region and just do join that. So once you are done, you have a list or you have open to a lot of connects, networks, and a lot of people out there and a lot of sessions that you can upskill yourself. And the secondly, my best and my first advice to everyone who wants to start with cloud is to take up the roadmap of AZ900 exam. So that covers you the complete basics of how a cloud, what is a cloud, and how does Microsoft Azure works, and what all services are available. And then once you're aware of that, you might now know which path you need to pick up and go around with that. So my path, my specialty was machine learning. So once I was aware that this is how cloud works, my specialty was machine learning. So I started my roadmap on that. So if you feel like your serverless is your part, you can go around with that, DevOps, and so on. So to summarize it, two steps: find your nearest Microsoft community which is available to you. Do join them. Second, check out this roadmap of AS900, and that's where you can start your cloud journey.
Okay, thank you so much, Vivek. I think just going out to look for the resources is the right way to start. Once you get a glimpse of what is contained there, yeah, you can go ahead and continue your journey. So we have another question from the Menti app, and the question, I'll send it to Pragati. And the question is, can joining Microsoft or any other companies make us a success? Yeah, from the Menti board.
Could you repeat the question again?
The question is, can joining Microsoft or any other company make us a success? So should they join companies or build their own companies from scratch? Yes, I think that's where they're coming from.
I will ask the question back to the person who asked and say, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to start your own company? Or do you want to join a well-established company? There are pros and cons to both of them, right? So if you want the comfort and the cushion of a bigger company, then of course the bigger companies is for you. If you want to go out with friends every evening and want a work-life balance, a bigger company is certainly for you. But if you're one of those people who I'm going to change the world come what may, then think of a startup, because startups, as Vivek will also tell you, is sweat and blood and a lot of hard work, right? And so that's what I say. So I'll give it back to you. Ask yourself, what is it that you want to do? If you're unsure, join a startup and figure it out for a couple of months, a year, and see what you like better.
Awesome. That's a very good answer for someone who really has to choose if they want the cushion or if they want to really venture. There's another question: how to get into machine learning freshers role? Are there, as there are less openings in the field for freshers?
Okay, I think I can take up this question. So, since machine learning and who I entered with machine learning as one of my expertise, so I would strongly disagree that machine learning is not a fresher's role. It is a fresher role as well. So, but of course, that comes with that you have to have some previous experiences or a showcase of that you have worked on it or you have some basic idea about that. So, the first thing you have to do is take up a certification or do some projects around machine learning, understand the core concepts of it so that you will be able to build that. And every startup, I can bet on it, every single startup will be happy to welcome you on board as a fresher, provided that you have the skill and experience of doing a machine learning project or work in a machine learning team. Once that is done, you're set to go. I think that that's a fair answer. I would really say, because I myself who started a career with machine learning as the base background.
I will have to stop the discussion. We're almost over time. So thank you, Pragati. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Vidushi, for asking questions. And obviously, Pragati and Vivek are here. People who are in person after the event, please talk to them, chat with them. As Pragati told, you can learn a lot of things when you chat with people. So that's an option for you all, right? So after the event, you can meet them. They're in the reactor currently. Okay. So by the way, in the Menti tool, let us know what are your takeaways. I know there is a bunch of answers which is coming in, which is really good. Don't get concentrate and connect with network with people. Yeah, how to be the best in AI, and a lot of things have people have answered, which is great. It's a great learning as well. Cool. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to move on to the next segment, which is the tech segment. But before I go into the next segment, this is very important to call out. I did talk about sharing resources to all of you. If you are interested in applying for the internship and want to know more about the careers at Microsoft, go ahead, look into this link, and see what all options you have and what all you can take back from here. So people who are online, we're going to share this link as well in the chat, and also Rashmita is going to post it on the stream as well, so we can go back and take this link. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next segment. I hope everybody take a look at this. You took the photos and other things. I know I saw some people taking photos. I want to make sure you have the links. Okay, so the workshop is obviously, we wanted to do the workshop. I know there's a packed agenda. So people who want to try with them, you can obviously go back and try with them, or else this is recorded. You can go back home, use the GitHub account and use the Microsoft for Students account, which will, again, we will share it in the chat, and also here it will show up anyways. So you can claim credits and you can claim stuff. Just a minute, I'll share the right set of link. This is the right set of link. So take a look at this. It's Azure for Students India. So please take a look at this. Okay. Cool. So shall I move on to the next segment? Okay. From now on, like 3 sessions will be completely tech. So we will deep dive, understand different set of things, cloud, GitHub, and how to use GitHub and other things, how to build your GitHub pages and other things. And then we have Reshmi here as well. She's here to drive amazing session for static web app. So let's move on. Okay. So before I move on, what do you think about what is cloud? Huh? Go back to your mentees and let me know, what do you think? One word. What is that word you associate when you hear what is cloud? Let me think a look. Wow, storage. Somebody's talked about data, internet, network. Let me put it as network instead of internet. Let's take that. That's great. I don't know why this is interrupting. Okay, cool. I think scalable servers, a lot of things. So let me bring this up. Okay, let me bring in two amazing gold ambassadors. One is Vidushi, and other is Vedant. Um Unfortunately, this session was supposed to be done by Jasleen, and she's not well. So Vidushi and Vedant stepped in and they recorded. Vedant is in Canada, and Vidushi is in Netherlands, but they stepped in and they recorded the session for us. And thanks to them. And I'm going to play that video. Let's hear it from them.
Everyone. Welcome to the Student Summit, which is in partnership with Microsoft Reactor. Today, we're going to be seeing what an Azure is in a very, very interesting manner. The session is going to be conducted by myself, Vidushi, and Vedant. A short introduction of myself. I am a Gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador from India, and I'm pursuing my bachelor's in computer science and engineering, which is specialized in big data analytics.
And about me, I'm Vedant. I'm a grad student at University of British Columbia. Here in Vancouver, Canada, I'm pursuing Masters of Sciences in Computer Science. And yes, I'm a Gold Student Ambassador here at Microsoft. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's dive into what cloud is. Um, we're going to be looking at an interesting scenario here to understand on the way about what cloud is and what are its advantages. So let's imagine you have a dog. So this dog right here is going to be very famous to a lot of people, and also has won many awards. He's a golden retriever and his name is Tucker. So you have a dog and the dog's name is Tucker. Um, Tucker always likes Cheetos, wants more Cheetos, and never gets full of Cheetos. But now the condition here is that you just have one photo of this goodest boy. Um, so this is a really cool photo of Tucker. He's trying to float in the swimming pool. You're scared what would happen if you lose this picture. You just have one photo of Tucker and you really want it, but what happens if you lose it? So, in order to prevent losing the picture, you actually upload it onto your computer and on a social media, where in this case, assume that Tucker has uploaded it on Twitter. So, this is what it looks like. There's a picture, and now you can view the picture on your phone, on your laptop. Anyone can view it on his Twitter handle. How did this happen? You actually just uploaded your image to a cloud, and without even knowing what cloud is, you just performed an action. So cloud is used in everyday life. You and me every day, all of us use cloud in multiple actions. So is this what it looks like? Is Tucker's image actually floating on a cloud? um, so it's actually inside a data warehouse. This is where Tucker's image is. So a data warehouse, in simpler terms, is going to be a collection of a lot of PCs, a lot of servers, and this is where these image gets stored. And a data warehouse could be all throughout the globe. So it can be anywhere and everywhere. And We can choose to keep our documents or pictures or whatever we upload to the cloud in a certain kind of a data warehouse, or just keep it anywhere in the world. So now, a few advantages of actually uploading the picture onto the cloud is going to be that there's very high availability of the picture. So you can actually access it on a laptop, on an iPad, and also on phone. So now that you've uploaded it to cloud, it's easier for you to access it across multiple devices. Coming back to the old question of what happens if I lose the picture, you actually have it on multiple devices now you can view it anytime, anywhere, which brings me to the availability that you can be accessed on when you're at home, when you're riding in a bus, or let's say when you're working out or in an office. You might just miss Tucker anytime, anywhere, so you have his image readily available in cloud for you to access. This is the first advantage, that you can look at your documents anytime, anywhere. Next step is going to be the reliability advantage. So your picture was on the laptop, Tucker's picture was on your laptop, but what if an alien came and took away your laptop, or you just don't have access to it, or someday the laptop just decides that it does not want to work anymore? What are you going to do? So now that you upload your image in the cloud, it is very reliable, and now you can access your image from anywhere, anytime, and this reliability is going to be maintained by permissions that are granted to your cloud service, and companies have their own securities. The cloud that's the company which has owns the cloud gives provides a reliable connection for you to store your documents securely. And so reliability here is, if in case there's one of the data warehouse that goes down, the other warehouses are going to give you the documents or the resources that you wanted. So that's how reliability works on a cloud. It's not that your image is not going to be accessible if the data warehouse is down. It depends, and it's going to be accessible based on the image in multiple data warehouses. So it's going to give you the resources from wherever it's possible. The third and the greatest advantage of using cloud is going to be the accessibility and sharing advantage. So you can share your the image easily with your friends and family, or whoever wants to look at Tucker. So they can either create links or just share a folder with them. And just like you and me, we upload multiple documents on OneDrive. Once we do that, we can easily share the document with someone on a link. We can collaborate on a link, or just share the folder, share the file via an email. There are multiple methods. All of this is possible only because of cloud. If there was no if you did not use cloud, then you just have it in your laptop, then you might put it in a pen drive, give away the pen drive to someone. It's a big hassle. So these are the top advantages, but it's not just you and Tucker. Let's look at a bigger picture. We need the cloud for multiple reasons, and it has a lot of advantages. Biggest of the biggest companies use cloud for their work, for their collaboration, and also have their own cloud services. For example, Microsoft has its own cloud called Azure, and a few of the advantages are going to be that it's very secure, has a, allows the user to manage the security of their documents. It's easily scalable. You can scale up your projects on cloud. You can have global access of anytime, anywhere. There's also a hybrid cloud. You can choose to have either a public cloud, a private cloud, or just a hybrid cloud. And it's very, very flexible. So it's not just you uploading an image to cloud, but it's more than that. It's also developing projects that are accessible by everyone, and you can scale them very easily on cloud. With services like pay as you go, you don't even have to worry about um, buying for resources which you're not going to use. So Vedant is going to be talking about more about Microsoft Azure. So I'll give it over to him. Last but not the least, it's not just one photo. We can have thousands of photos on the cloud and relish all of them. anytime, anywhere, securely, reliably, share it with people, all using the cloud. So cloud is massive and it's the next big technology. Over to you, Vedant. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidushi, for amazing presentation and on cloud. And I just loved it. I mean, the way you explained it, especially with the dog. I love dogs, so I loved your presentation in that order. Now let's move on to Azure. We'll jump on to Azure. Now we know about clouds. We know about Azure, but we don't know about Azure in details and how this Azure functionality works, what other services does Microsoft Azure offers to us, and how can we explore them? How can we use them, and what can we make out of it? So I'll quickly jump on to the Azure website. I'll just let's consider me as newbie exploring the website for the first time, and let's find out how I do it. And I mean, we do not have to assume myself as a newbie. I guess I am one in a way. So let's jump on. I'll just quickly share my screen, and there we go. Alrighty. So let's open the website portal.azure.com. That's your go-to place. Now I have logged in. I'm already logged in with my student ambassadors account, and that's what I see. So I did work on Azure before, so that's why you see all these resources here. Resources are basically entity on Azure that you're creating and working on. So I have already created certain resources, but let's ignore that as of now, and we'll just assume that I'm here for the first time, and what will I do? Now, the best part about Azure as compared to many other cloud services is that it's very easy to navigate. That's my personal experience. It's very easy for me to find these services here and to get started. Even as a newbie, I can see a lot of services here listed down, like Azure services. And if I don't want to take any of these, I can simply click on more services, and it just list me down all the services that it offers. Now, as a part of this session, let's walk through the services that we have here. Now, we have a lot of services here, like tons of them. You can see these categories, and each category has like 20 to 30 services in them. So yeah, obviously we cannot go through one by one all the services, but we can have a quick look of all the services that we have here. Now, first we have this general section, which basically talks about tools which help you with your account management here at Azure. For example, the marketplace, the service health, the free services that it offers, the templates, the cost management, what subscription are you on, what were the recent things that you created, all the resources that you created, and so on. So that's the general account management stuff. Going down to compute services. So compute basically helps you with, well, computation, as it says. And it offers one of the very popular service that often is used. A lot of services, a lot of people use that service, and it is often required as a developer. I mean, I have used it for a lot of times, which is virtual machine. Now, virtual machine is basically what it says. It's virtualization of a machine. Now, I was using a very bad computer for last few months. It took a lot of time to boot. It took a lot of time to even open a folder. And my end goal was to write a code and create a mobile app. Now that was difficult with that kind of computer because the computation was not happening. It was very slow. Now in those cases, I can simply log on to Azure and create a virtual machine. So a virtual machine is just a machine, say a computer machine, which is created for you, but its architecture, its data center, its computation, its server, everything resides at Microsoft Data Center on backend. So you don't have to worry about any of those architecture. You simply decide your configuration while creating the machine from this create tab. You can select your configuration that you want based on what you want to do. And it will create a machine for you, which runs on your system, which pretends to run on your system, which is not actually running on your system. So you can do all kind of stuff, creating a mobile app or whatever services and tools you want, you can use on that machine, on that computer, but actually the computation is happening on cloud. So here you're connected with the systems. It's not using the power of your own computer, own desktop, and but still you're able to use it. That's the power of virtual machine, and but that's what I did a lot of times for when I was using a very bad machine back then. Virtual machine was my go-to strategy, and it worked well. Now, another good thing about Azure, as you can see here, is, for example, if I did tell you about virtual machine, but I know I'm very bad at explaining, right? So, and you need more explanation about virtual machines. So you can just go on to here, and when you just hover over virtual machines, you see it provides you some useful link and free training from Microsoft. Isn't that amazing? So if I click on Introduction to Azure Virtual Machine, which I'm not gonna do now because that's kind of not, but if you click on that, it will just take you to that website in Microsoft Learn or Microsoft Docs, and will give you the whole tutorial on how you can navigate and get started with virtual machines. What are those? What kind of configurations do you need, and how to navigate through them, how to get started, how to run them, how to get your work done via virtual machines. And that kind of like that kind of pop-up comes for any of those services that you have here, and it just gives you all the resources that you can use to learn those services. So we have in compute, we have virtual machines, we have some cloud services, some classic cloud services, some disk storage, and so on, and Kubernetes services. Kubernetes, another fancy word out there, which is very popular. A lot of people are using it. There is a lot of demand in industry for Kubernetes developer. And that's another resource that you have in here in the compute tab under Azure. So use Azure Kubernetes services to create and manage Kubernetes clusters. Azure will handle all the clustering operations, including creating, scaling, upgrading, all those terms which Vidushi told you about. And all of that you can do in here with Microsoft Azure. And again, free training on what is Kubernetes, introduction to Kubernetes, and how you can do that on Azure over here. Let's move on to the next section, which is networking. So you have all kind of networking operations. If you're into networking, this is your go-to place. It provides you with network interfaces, managing all your network loads, managing your IPs, connecting different systems, and just monitoring the usage and so on, along with firewall and connections, right? Next is, wow, the storage one. So the storage section is like, wow, because with big data, the reason I'm saying wow so many times, because of big data, there is so much of data all across, and it's really difficult at this point for any company or any project to have their data just on their device, because you cannot simply manage that kind of data, that huge data on a single device, on your individual devices. And thus you need cloud services for that. And storage is the section to go to. Azure offers you with all kind of data storage options like data lakes, storage accounts, you can create them and so on. And you can manage, upgrade, scale, share, and do all of that with your data while securing, while you're not bothered about Azure handles all the security policies based on what are your requirements. Do you want your data to reside just in your own country? Well, you can select that region while creating those data resources, and you can do that. That way, the data is not going out of your country and resides in the servers in your country. And any of those security policies, if you have in mind, you can be aware of that, and you can select that while creating those resources. And there you go. You're safe, you're secure, your data is private, you're maintaining all the privacy standards while storing your data on cloud. Next is the web services. I've used this app service so many times. The Azure app service lets you create some static and functional web apps. And it's amazing, right? So your web app is created, it's on cloud, it's managing. You don't have to run your own server or run your own machine all the time to just let the web app functioning, because Azure is doing all that for you. So you can see I've created some resources before, and also you have training for that on how to create web apps. So maybe web app or app service is something, if you're new to Azure, I'll recommend to get started with, because it's fairly easy to create a web app and host it on Azure. So that can be one of the first step to get started at. You have Power Platform, you have Azure Spring Apps, some static web apps, cognitive search, and so on. Now, I know these are just buzzwords as of now, which doesn't stand a lot of meaning, but yes, you can just hover over them and jump onto their learning resources and learn about them. We have some mobile apps, again with app services and Power App. We have containerization, so you can create some Kubernetes containers and use them for all kind of work that you're doing as a developer or as a manager. You have databases, again, something related to storage, but not exactly that. So you also have option here to use certain functions to manage your data. For example, you have your SQL server stretch databases, or simple SQL databases, MySQL data server applications with it. So Azure machine learning pool with these old functionalities is of a great help. I can, if time permits, I can quickly jump on to what you have here. Our objective here is to detect Dory out of it, just train the data. If I go back to the trained project, which has already been trained here. So if I click on finding Dory, and if I go on performance, so see, I've already trained a model which kind of detects Dory out of your images. So if I go on prediction, and if you just upload decision on whether disease is there or not, or if there are moving videos or moving image, you have images of certain cars where the cars are not following the traffic signals or breaking them, and now if you want to capture the number plate of that car, you can do that here. You can create a model which does that and just train on it and get some images, train on it, and test it, and it should work. So that's the power of custom vision here. Let me switch back to our main Azure tab, and in this era, if you need to went through. So that is all the resources Microsoft Azure offers to you, and one can go for. So best strategy is to go on Microsoft Learn. So I can simply click on learn. I think it should be learn.microsoft. Learn.azure.com or Microsoft.com. I'm so bad at typing stuff. Right. So we are here on Microsoft Learn, and here you can find all the resources that you want to learn. For example, if I simply search for Azure, right? Let's just search for Azure. So I get all the resources that I have. I can click on provide me documentation. So I get this documentation about Azure. I can click on provide me training. So I get Azure on, so I get this Microsoft Learn for Azure, a learning path that I can explore, which has all these learning paths within it, some modules that I can jump onto based on my requirement and what I want to learn. For example, if I want to learn Azure SQL fundamentals, I have these resources. I can just start. It has some 6 units. I can read those units, try practicing them parallelly, and just learn Azure. So it's easy to get started. It's easy to learn. You have a lot of resources. So I hope you did get some good learning out of the sessions and certain directives to jump onto and follow it for future to get started with Azure, learn more about it, and practice it for your projects. And do create amazing projects out of it, and let me know. Do message me on Twitter or whatsoever, and do let me know what you did with Azure, because I'll be happy to know about it. Also, maybe just tweet about, if you do create something, maybe tweet about it and tag us, put the hashtag related to Microsoft Student Summit, and we'll be happy to see those posts and tweets coming up, and some advantage out of this session, so some results out of this session. So that was me, and that was Vidushi, and thank you. I hope you liked this session.
Thank you, Vidushi and Vedant. I think Vedant is online and he is in the chat as well. If you have any questions, you can go to the YouTube and ask him some questions as well. So basically, what Vidushi and Vedant were discussing was uh, about the cloud, right? And what is cloud? And cloud is nothing but three things. One is compute, network, storage, right? Rest is everything like the services and lot of services built over these main basic three things. Just compute, network, and storage. So if you understand all these three amazing, amazing features and amazing technologies, it's good. It's great to go ahead and build anything, right? So that is what Vedant was talking about. There are a bunch of services which is out there. You can pick those bunch of services and build anything. There's one example from Vidushi, one example from Vedant as well, like how he built the training and finding Dory and other things. So thank you again, and I will move on to next segment. This is a set of collection which is there on the screen. So please make a note of this. Obviously, when we say about Microsoft Certified for free, you can just go back and learn from these collections. So this is what Vedanta was also showing. This bunch of learn modules which is there, and you can go and complete these learn modules to get to know more about what the cloud is and to know more about certifications, right? So basically that's the main thing, right? If you do the fundamental certification, you're ready for next set of things to do, whether you want to go into solution architect or you want to go into the developer division and other things, right? So that is what we have provided there. So just go and try it out, and I will bring in the speaker next speaker, who is Aniket, and he's also a gold ambassador, and he's working at Rapid Circle as of now as an internship, I believe. So I'm going to bring him in. Where is you, Ankit? Where are you? Where are you? A bunch of screens which I have now. So Ankit is here.
Hey Vivek.
Ankit, you want to? Ankit, you want to share your screen?
Yes.
Where are you joining us from?
So currently I'm joining from Rajasthan. I'm in my college. So yeah.
Cool. So Sanket is joining us from Rajasthan. So that's the beauty of running these kind of events, right? As I told you previously as well, we have diverse set of speakers we can bring in. There are speakers who are here as well. They are here to interact with you as well. And for online audience as well, they can hear from the speaker from diverse places and also meet people online and have a chat with them as well. That's amazing. And so I'll hand it over to Aniket, and
Yeah.
please go ahead and teach us GitHub.
Okay, thank you, Vivek. So hey everyone, folks in Bengaluru, folks in online there. So today we are going to learn something interesting and important, as we all are developers, we all are engineers. And this is also the month of October. And you know what October is famous for in developers, right? Exactly, that is Hacktoberfest. And you must have heard about a lot of words like open source, code contribution, GitHub, pull requests, and whatnot. So today we will be understanding everything, and we'll be learning how to use GitHub to actually use it to make projects. So to introduce myself, hey, I'm Aniket Kumar Sana. I'm working as the cloud consultant at Rapid Circle, and I'm also the Gold Microsoft Launcher Ambassador. So before starting, let me go through a small story first. So we all are having octations here. You just imagine that this is the time of before COVID era. You all are in college, you are eating together, having fun together, creating projects together, hackathons, right? Sitting just beside each other and writing code, sharing code with each other. But then COVID occurred. We all were locked in our rooms, right? So, okay, we are students. It might work for us that we are in our homes. It is working fine if we are not even building projects together. But what about companies? Can you just believe that a company can stop coding, can stop creating the projects, or can stop working on their existing updates? they will be get into a hell lot of losses, right? So there is, or there should be something where everyone can collaborate together, can code together, sitting anywhere in the world, right? And there comes the GitHub. So moving ahead with the agenda for today, we will be getting to know what is open source. We will be learning together how to use GitHub. And then there's two similar words, GitHub and Git. I know many of you must be confused, and generally people use these two terms simultaneously, GitHub and Git. But there should be a difference if there is a difference in the name. So we will also understand whether these two are same or are they different. Moving ahead, we will be heading to GitHub to do hands-on things on GitHub. And yeah, there will be a small quiz at the end. And at the last, you can ask me any questions you want. I will be happy to help you with them. So what exactly is open source? So open source softwares are designed to be publicly freely accessible. That means anyone can see, modify, and distribute the code as they want. So just imagine there is a software whose code is openly available. You can watch the code, and if needed, you can just use that code according to your need. For example, VS Code is open source software, right? The code is publicly available on GitHub, and you want some feature which is not there in VS Code. So maybe you can just get that code, update that code according to your needs and use it. And even you can push that code for the VS Code main repo so that the others might who also are in need with that feature can get it, right? So that's the beauty of open source. Anyone can contribute to it. But there are two terminologies, open source software and free software. So you need to understand that the open source software's codes are freely available, but it is not necessary that all the free softwares which are available for free use, their code need not to be openly or freely available for anyone to see. So you should be clear with this idea, because you are in college or you are a student. So you should be clear with this idea that all the open source software are free softwares, but not all free softwares are open source softwares. So let's move ahead with GitHub now. So what is GitHub, man? We are hearing it a lot, especially in this month, right? So GitHub is a code collaboration platform that helps people solve problems by building software together. So you can just assume it to be like, we have recently gone through the sessions on cloud and Azure, right? So you can assume it to be a platform over cloud or maybe somewhere online where you and your friends or your colleagues can code together. You might be sitting anywhere in the world. You all can contribute together in a single project or in any project using GitHub. And not only in your projects, there are many open source projects available on GitHub in which you can contribute accordingly. For example, you might be finding any bug in any software. You can just go there and contribute it to their code so that that bugs can be fixed. Next come Git, exactly, Git and then GitHub, right? So what is GitHub? Sorry, what is Git and how it is different? So Git is a version control system which tracks the history of code changes as people and teams collaborate on projects together. So Git is a software which is a version control system which basically tracks the history of the code. So you can use Git and install it on a system and can use it to track the history. For example, you have updated few things on the code, right? But then you are seeing that no, you are not liking this feature. You need to get back to the previous code, right? But how to get back to it if you are not using Git? Then you can use Git to switch back to the previous version of the code which you were using. Now let's understand whether GitHub and Git are same or are they different, right? Because the terminologies are different, right? So GitHub is a service, but Git is a software. You can use GitHub online, but Git you need to install it, right? GitHub is a graphical user interface hosted on the web, and Git is a command line tool locally installed. So Git is similar, like when you will be using Git, it is similar to the command line. The codes or the terminologies are similar to the command line which is there on your system, right? And GitHub focuses on web hosting, code collaboration, and code sharing. But Git does not focus on that. Git mainly uses the version control to understand the previous versions or to keep a record of the previous versions of the code, right? And GitHub includes free tier and pay for use tiers as per your need. But Git is an open source software whose code is openly available and you can use it freely by installing to your system. Okay, now the terms come that we will be using today on the hands-on session. We will be checking what exactly this repository is and what are branches. Like, are there any branches of the trees which we are using, or is this something else? We will be see what commit is. Like, are we committing to any person, or are we using something else that is termed as commit? We will be creating pull request. You must have been hearing about it a lot. We will be checking for issues. I know everyone has issues in their life, but we will see whether this is our life issue or something else, right? We will be moving ahead with labels, and we will be forking repository, right? And at the end, we will be using GitHub pages to host a website. Exactly, you will be hosting a website over GitHub, and that too for free, which you can share with your peer mates, right? So are you ready to get into the metaverse of GitHub? Cool. So let's get started. So when you will open github.com, this kind of interface will be coming up. Obviously, if you are creating your GitHub account for the first time, there should be less content here, right? But this will be general interface of GitHub. Now, we need to create a repository. So from here, you can see this plus icon. You can tap here, and there will be an option to new repository. So you will tap on this, and we will be giving this repository a name. So let's give this MSFT student summit. Okay. If you want, you can give a description. And there's an option for public and private. So a public repository will be openly available for anyone to see or edit. Like, obviously, if you are the owner, you can edit, and someone else will need a permission to edit. Or else you can just make a repository a private one that only you can see and edit it. We are adding it a readme file, and okay, we are adding a license. So licenses are important for any project so that it can be legally right to like for your project basically. And then we will be tapping on create a repository. So in the meanwhile, let's understand what exactly is a repository, right? So you must be like using folders in your computers, right? So just assume this repository to be a folder, but it is present online, right? You can just save any file here. You can upload any kind of files which you want, and you can publicly share it as it is on GitHub, right? So just assume it in that way. So see, our repository has been created. Now we are seeing many more new things. Like, this is the code section where we can see what all files we are having. There is a issues, right? We were talking about this in our agenda, right? What exactly is issues we will be seeing. We will be talking about pull request. This is an action known as GitHub Actions, and it is a really helpful tool. And you can understand, like, when we will be hosting our like projects on GitHub, in the behind, GitHub Actions will be used to do so. There is an option to go to get projects together, create a wiki of your project, and there are some security restrictions. And even if your project is open source, you can see all the insights, like how many contributors are there, what are the frequency and all. And there's a setting section to set changes about your repository, right? So we have seen what exactly a repository is. Now you can see there is a main written here, right? So this main is termed as branch. You can see switch branches tags, right? So this main is a branch, and this is the default branch, right? Previously there used to be a master branch. Now it has been updated to main branch. Okay. So the main branch is the main area where the exact code, like for example, you are working on a project all together with a team, right? So maybe you are working on a specific feature and the other person might be working on some other feature, right? So there is a main branch where the updated, like the most recent and the most correct code is present. And then from your feature branches, you can just get it merged to main. and we will just see that what other branches can be created and how we can create the other branches, right? So let's just create a new branch for as dev. So exactly right. You just saw it. I'm just writing it, and if the dev branch would be present there, it would have shown me. But if it is not, it is showing that create branch dev from main. So when I'm tapping this, let's see what it is doing. Okay, it is creating a copy. Exactly. The branches are just a copy of the previous branches from which you copy. So we made this branch from the main branch, right? So we created a copy of the main branch named as dev. So it is a good protocol to update the things in some feature branch or in dev branch and then get it merged to main after review of the reviewer. So there can be a reviewer of a project in which you are contributing. So he or she needs to check whether the code on which you have worked or the feature which you have added through your code is working fine or not, or will it break it, right? So we are using this dev branch. Now, you can see that the readme file, everything is attached, right? Let's just update this. So we are opening this read.md file. We are tapping on this edit icon. It can directly edit on GitHub. Otherwise, you can see in the drop menu, we are having open in github.dev. So let's open this. So github.dev is opening up, and let's see what it is exactly. Okay, so it is coming up and the interface is looking similar to VS Code, right? Exactly. This is a kind of online VS Code you can assume, and you can just use it according to your need to make the changes online itself, right? So let's just open this and edit it. So just we are editing it as removing adding some spaces to look good. Now here the option of commit changes. We are talking about commit, right? So what exactly is commit now? So we are updating the code. Okay. So now we need to commit that yes, we are updating the code. This is the reason why we are updating the code, or maybe a headline that what exactly we have updated in the code, so that we can keep on track in the project, right? Who has committed this code and for what reason this code was made, right? So we are just saying that adding spaces in the README file. Okay, you can add a brief description. There are two options: commit directly to dev branch as we were on dev branch, or create a new branch for this commit. So if you choose this second option, you will be creating a new branch, a whole new branch from the dev branch, or you can directly move it with dev. So we are already having a feature branch that is dev. So we are committing it here. So let's commit the change now. So okay, changes are done in the dev branch. Let's move back to our repository. Dev is showing the changes, but if we are moving it to main, you can see the changes aren't there, right? Because we just updated the dev branch. But since the main repository is the main repository whose code will be running over the internet, right? We need to update it. So there is an option of compare and pull request, but like we can just actually tap on it and create a pull request, or you can just go here, tap on new pull request, and just see. There are two options, base and compare. So we are choosing dev. So what this pull request will do? So it is showing that there is a dev branch in which we have made some changes that needs to merge to main. Okay. So now the reviewer of the project or the repository will review your code that, okay, these changes are been done. And if he or she will find that, yeah, the code is good and we can merge it to the main, he will just approve it. For now, you are just contributing to this project and you are creating a pull request. And here also you can just update it. That is the headline. It is for now taking the headline for the commit message, right? So we are just keeping it as it is and we are creating a pull request. So the pull request has been created, but still the main branch is not showing the changes. So as I told you, the reviewer should go to the pull request, check the pull request, whether the code is fine or not. Okay, and then he can just merge the pull request because he's a reviewer. So we are just merging this. Now you can see the code has been merged. So the dev code has been merged to the main. You can just see that this is the main branch. And yes, we are having all the changes that we did in right. Okay. So it is done for repository. We have seen branches, but what if you are someone like I was using this? It is my own repository. I am using this from my own GitHub account. But what if you want to contribute to this? Right? You don't have the access. You aren't the owner, but you still want to contribute to it, right? So I will just show you another account that how you can contribute. So this is a different account. As you can see that this is a different account. And now from this account, I want to contribute, right? Here comes the form. You can see there's a button called form. So now there is a thing. If you want to contribute to this, you cannot directly contribute it on it, right? You need to clone this. Like you need to fork this to your own GitHub account and then make changes in your own repository, that clone repository, and then create a pull request to the main repository, right? So I am tapping on this fork item. As you can see that it is creating a fork in my new ID, that is the another GitHub ID, and I'm creating, you can see that copy the main branch only. So okay, we are copying the main branch, but what if we want to update it? Because main branch is updating main branch is not a good practice. So we are removing this and we are getting each and every branch present. So just tap on create fork. So now you can see there is a already of repository in my main account, right? You can just see and open this that yeah, there it is. But there's also the same repository or a copy of that repository in my new GitHub ID. So yeah, we have forked it. You can see that there's one fork already present there. So now we want to update the code as a contributor because we do not have the access to it, right? So first we can just go ahead with this, updating the changes over the GitHub itself, or we can use in github.dev, right? But these things are online. What if you want to do these things locally and then push it, right? Because there can be a big data of codes and you need to understand each and every file. So for that, today, we will be using GitHub Desktop. So this is GitHub Desktop. You can download it from the web. And for that, you just first need to clone this to your local, because this repository is available on a GitHub online, but you need to clone it. So we are using this. Copy this HTTPS option, this whole link. And you can also see that there is an option for open with GitHub Desktop, but we will see how we can create it on the GitHub Desktop itself. We will be moving to file, and there's an option to clone repository. And we will paste this URL here. Okay. Now we are just cloning it. So what it is doing, we are cloning, that is making a copy of this code which is available online to our local machine. Okay. Okay. We are here. You can see that the repository is here. We are in the main branch, right? So now we need to edit the changes in the dev branch. So here we are going to dev branch. Okay. But what changes do you want to make? It might be that you might be facing some issue with the code, or you might have seen some bugs, right? So as a contributor, you can go to the main repository, create an issue. Now, what is issue? So an issue is similar, like there is the code, you are having an issue, okay? So you need to create an issue for that. For example, we are having that in the exact code, it is MSFT, but we want this to Microsoft, the full spelling, right? So we are creating the issue and new issue, and then we are writing as MSFT needs to be Microsoft. Okay, you can add a description about it and then submit. Okay, so you can see that the issue has been created. Now I'm going to the main branch. We can just see in the issue section, that yes, there's an issue. So you are the maintainer right now. You can see that, okay, this issue is there. If you want, you can assign it to someone. As you can see, the new owner is there. You can assign it to directly to that person, and you can add labels of it. So now here comes a label. So what kind of issue is this? Is this a bug or documentation or enhancement? So let's make this as enhancement. Okay, and yes, it is done. You must be seeing that many issues are opened as good for first time users, right? As there is an option, good first issue. So you can even check that if you are new to the open source, their enhancement, the label has been there. Okay, so what we are trying to do, that you are trying to make this issue resolve, make this bug or the thing to be full as Microsoft. So that exactly we will be doing right now. So we have forked it, we have cloned it, we are in the dev branch. As you can see from here, you can just choose to dev branch. And now let's open this in our Visual Studio Code, because that is the default code editor in my system. There might be a different one for yours. Okay, we are opening this. We are opening this README file, and then we are making the changes. We are updated. We have updated this. Done. Right. Now, when you will get back to the GitHub desktop, you can see that something has been updated. You can already see what the changes are. You can just see if the changes are correct. You can just commit it similar way. Okay. Updated the MSFT to Microsoft, and then commit them. Okay, you have committed it to dev. Let's check it over the GitHub. We are refreshing it, we are moving it to dev, but no changes here. Why? Because we are updating this on our local repository. We need to push it, right? So there's an option to push to origin. So what does it mean? That whatever you have updated in your local system, you need to push it to the GitHub over the web, right? So we are tapping on push origin. So you can see that it is pushing and done. You can see the changes has been pushed. Let's now refresh it again. Yeah, you can see that Microsoft has been updated with the correct spelling, right? Okay, but if I'm refreshing my dev branch in my main repository, that is who is the owner of this repository, you cannot see that it has been updated. So what do we need to do as a contributor? We need to create a pull request. So we will go to creation of the pull request. We'll tap on new pull request. And you can see there are two options. Head, this is the new as a contributor GitHub account, and this is the owned GitHub account. But we are merging from main to main, but we have updated the things on dev. So let's now push the things from dev to main. Okay, here are the changes. Let's now create a pull request. You have updated the things, added the heading, you can maybe add a description, and now create the pull request. So in a similar fashion, it is creating a pull request from a new contributor too. The reviewer can open this and can check whether the code has been updated right or not. And if he or she wants, then he can merge it. Okay, so it has been merged. You can see that, yeah, this has been updated, right? So you have finally contributed as a contributor to an open source project. So as a maintainer, you can just check it that, yeah, this issue has been resolved, and you can just close this issue. Okay, you can just add a description, we are having resolved, and then close with comment. Now you can see that number 1 has been removed because the issue has been closed, right? Okay, so we have seen what is repository, what are branches, how to fork, how to clone, how to create pull requests. Now let's see how we can host something over the GitHub. So I have created this a simple HTML page, okay, and I will be hosting this over GitHub. So there's an option to add file, right? You can maybe create new file, or you can upload. So I will be tapping on upload file as I've already created. There's an option to drag and add it here or choose file. So let me just put it here. You can see one is uploading and it has been there. So we need to commit because we have making the changes to the repository. Adding the HTML file. Okay, it is just adding the file. It takes some seconds according to your net speed, and we will be there with a repository having an HTML file. Hola, we are having this HTML file here, but how to post it? How to get this as a website? For that, you need to go to the settings. Okay. There is an option called pages, right? We need to go for GitHub pages. So there is an option called pages. Just open this pages, and you need to select from which branch. Like you are basically using deploy from branch. Okay. And there's an option branch. GitHub page is currently disabled. So we need to choose a branch from which we need to host. So we are having all the things in our main branch. We are choosing main and then tapping on save button. Okay. So now let's again refresh it. So what it is doing that in the behind, you can see that this action is running. There's a GitHub action running, which is basically deploying your website or the HTML file as a website over GitHub pages. So meanwhile, this is running, like this will run, and then only you will get an option to share your link, right? Because every website has a link, has a URL, and you also need a URL to share with your friends that, yes, I have made these changes, right? So this is running in the background, and let's move back, refresh it again. Okay, so the GitHub actions is taking time. So cool. In the meanwhile, the GitHub action is running. Let me just tell you that we were using this. You can open this HTML file from your GitHub account. Like you can just fork my repository. You can open this file and then can update, like copy paste it and update it with your own name and then create a pull request for a hands-on, right? Because you also want to contribute to any project that is open source over the GitHub, right? So let's now move back to the same area of GitHub pages. Now you can see that your site is live at this specific website link. Let me open this up. Okay, so this is in the repository because our file name was html page.html, right? So we need to move to this exact URL because if we are going to any about section, we need to open that /about, right? Similarly, we need to add the exact file name here after the link. So we have added that file name, and you can see that this is hosted. You can just copy it and can maybe share it with your friends. You can see that I'm opening it in a different account. Yeah, your website is hosted, and that too all for free. Exactly, that's the power of GitHub pages. Right? And you can see in the actions that something is in a green tick, and you can understand that something has worked fine because then only GitHub pages is working fine and your website has been hosted and you are also having a URL to share. You can just share it freely. Awesome. So now we have seen each and everything that is required for you to contribute to any project that is open source or to create projects together. Cool. We have learned so many things now. So now the term to test how much or what we have learned. Right? So yes, we are looking at with quizzes. Don't worry, there are few in number and very easy to understand. The first question is, what is the best way to report a bug to GitHub project? Either send an email to the project owner, or you don't bother. Like I don't bother reporting software bugs because there's no transparency and they never get fixed. You can be thinking like that. Or search for the bug in the project's existing issues and create a new one if it hasn't been reported yet. So we created something called issues, right? And there is an option of bug in the labels. So we need to put a bug over there. So let's check the answer. Yes, the last one is the correct one. The second one is, suppose you have created a bug fix on a new branch and want it to become part of the next production build generated from the main branch. What should you do? Either copy your branch changes and commit them directly to the main branch, create a pull request to merge your new branch in the main branch, or on second thought, maybe I won't share this fix. So let's take the answer. Correct. You need to create a pull request to merge it to your new branch and then to main. And then only it will be there on the production. The last question is, suppose you would like to work with project on GitHub, but you don't have right access to the project. What can you do to contribute it? We have seen recently that we contributed a project on which we are the owner, right? So for this, you must be knowing the answer. At fork the project's repository, clone the repository to your local machine, push changes, and then create a pull request. So yeah, these all were the things. If you have any queries, I'm open for it. And if not, then we are good to end today's session. Like this session specifically, we are having many more, and I would like to share a few links over the chat. You can see that this is ak.ms/student-learn GitHub. You can just go over here if you want to learn more about GitHub from the Microsoft Learn module, and you can visit this ak.ms learn student. You will be getting a lot of resources there. And if you want to reach out to me, this is my Twitter handle. You can reach out with any questions present. Thank you.
Definitely, you can reach out to Ankit, and Ankit is there. People who are online, you can basically post your questions in the chat, and Ankit can answer it directly through YouTube. And thank you, Ankit, for the session. So let me bring in the next speaker. Thank you very much, Ankit.
Thank you,
I'm just
Vivek.
moving
Thank you all.
to the next segment. Bye bye. I'm bringing in Rishmi, and Rishmi is here. You can meet her. Uh, People who are here. By the way, she's for online audience and for in-person audience. She is the product manager for Azure Static Web App, and she's from product. She is going to show what she builds every day, and basically you can learn from directly from the product team, and that's the beauty of this session as well, right? So Rishmi, I know you have a couple of questions to ask. So let me bring those questions. Put Parth, can you put the mentee's link and the code? Okay. So there is a mentee link and the code. Can you go there? Everyone in the chat and the people who are online and people who have joined us here. There are a couple of questions. What type of developer do you categorize yourself? You're a full stack, you're a front end developer, you're a back end developer. What is it? What kind of developer you are? So let's wait for some time. Let's give 1 or 2 minutes.
I can probably do my intro meanwhile and save
Yes,
time.
yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me again. And it's always a pleasure to be a part of the Reactor community and talking to the students. Hi, all. I am Reshmi. I am a program manager with Static Web Apps. Been working with Microsoft for the past 1 year now. I basically enjoy working with the developers because I am creating day in and day out tools where they can host their websites and manage them in an easy format. So, a lot of you might find static web apps as a new term, right? You might not have come across this before. So the second question, which is right now on the screen, is basically to try understand whether you have heard it, whether you have used it, whether it's something that you would have heard as a pass by reference, but you have never tried it. So basically, what I'm going to do in today's session is going to introduce you into the world of static web apps, into how easy it is to bring your website and quickly deploy it over on a website hosted place in a cloud. And I'm sure, like all the previous lessons that you heard, the description of what cloud is, and Aniket gave a very expanded explanation of how GitHub works, how GitHub Pages works, how you can have like good continuous integration of sorts. So everything that you have heard so far, we are going to club them together and implement them in this product, which is going to be Azure Static Web Apps. So I have given my introduction, and whenever we are ready, we can start with sharing my screen.
Yeah, and I've also shared the second question. Have you ever used Azure Static
Okay,
Web
that's
Apps?
actually a very nice mix. I'm actually happy that almost half the crowd has actually used static web apps before. That's good.
No, it's still they're still answering, so you might lose the battle. Okay, cool. So, meanwhile, can you share your screen so
Yes,
that I can bring it on the screen?
it's already
Share.
being shared.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So, people can still go back and answer this question, and people online, you can go to the Menti link and give the code which is there in the chat, and you can answer those questions. So let me bring in the. Oops. Okay. Got
Let
it.
me know if the screen's visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, awesome. I cannot see the stream anymore, so I'm just gonna rely on your voice cues to understand if it's visible or not. So, quickly jumping, guys, to static web apps. Basically, in a one-liner, if I have to explain what it is, the idea is to have a managed hosting platform where you can put your website, you can create your website and host it in the Azure cloud, and we take care of deploying it across the globe so that irrespective of wherever you are accessing it from, maybe you deployed it in India, but someone who's trying to access it from America is also being able to access it very quickly with minimal latency. And all the other benefits of having it in cloud, right? You have attached services, like you can easily connect to database, backend, be it any other things that you want to access, like quick API calls, right? We take care of that. We provide you free SSL certificates. We give you so many benefits which are totally being taken care of by us. And all you have to do is create an Azure account and just host it there. So what I'm going to do is I've created a static web app, and this is basically a demo which I used in my recent samosa chai call. So I'm just going to walk you through this. This is going to explain the use case of what and how static web apps comes into picture. So it's based out of a real life story. So Kathy, I've just renamed for PII purposes, but Kathy is one of my flatmates. She is very much into art and paints, right? So she was really inspired that she wants to get her work out in the locality. How does she go about like telling people that this is what the work she has done with, and this is how she's want to like sell it in a global market, for suppose. Now, how does she do that? How does she expand her business? She has a lot of concerns, right? How do you do that? The best solution is by hosting a website. Because why? When you host a website, you're hosting it in a cloud. And like I mentioned, it's basically going to be accessible everywhere. But while hosting a website, there needs to be certain technicalities, right? So she contacted a developer to create a portfolio for her e commerce. But there are a lot of upcoming challenges which she was supposed to be aware of. The site needs global availability. If I am planning on selling it across the globe, I need to make sure that my site is accessible across the globe. The site needs to be certified and secure. Security is the utmost important thing right now in any media, any digital field, any technology, right? How do you make sure that your site and your work has enough security and copyrights and things like that? You need to have a custom domain. You cannot just go by some domain from GoDaddy and just like leave it as a random XYZ dot whatever. She wanted it to be customized to her own website name. She wanted to connect to backend database so that all the stock details of the artifacts and the artwork that she has is being listed over there, and it basically updates on the website that these many are available, this is out of stock, things like that. And of course, if you have a website, you want to make sure that all the transactions that's happening and all the reflections are happening at an immediate time, so that it doesn't happen like there are just two items left and there are three people trying to buy. It shows a confirmation for everyone, but actually there were just two and it did not get updated on time, right? So, how do we do that? How do we find a cost effective solution for all of these? That is where static web apps comes into play. Okay, I love the music, but I'm not going to keep playing the music. So, static web apps is a streamlined full stack development solution which takes your source code for global and high availability. And all the explanations that I gave recently, all the problems that have been highlighted, everything has been answered over here. all you have to do is you do the coding in your own local system, in your own local environment. You just deploy it to the cloud, and we take care of making sure that it's available across. And we have very good CI/CD integrations as well with GitHub, with Azure DevOps pipelines, with GitLab, Bitbucket. Aniket mentioned a couple of them in the previous session as well, right? So basically, what we're trying to do is integrate your local system to the cloud using all of these CI/CD paths. So now what happens is every time you do a Git push, it automatically builds your site in cloud. You don't have to do any other manual triggering. You just have to do Git push in your laptop, and it builds the site to the latest update in cloud. And of course, we have the option of going with pay as you go. So basically, if I as a person want to have like maybe two databases, so I will host for two databases. But suppose I don't want two databases, I have very limited data. I can choose to connect with just one, and I will pay only for one database. But the best part is you have an open source command line tool, which is aka.ms/swascliga. You can feel free to explore this. I will briefly touch on the documentation over here because I'm going to use it. But because it's open source, you can also come in and contribute to it and make sure that this tool gets powerful. All of this available free, of course, guys. All you need is an Azure subscription, and I'm sure as students you already get free credits, so you don't have to wait for anything. You just go ahead, create your own Azure account, go to Static Web Apps, create a resource, and try it everything for free. Okay, awesome. So this basically goes into a little bit of technicalities, and right now we do not have a lot of time to play around with it, but I'll show you how the final result looks like. So as you can see, this is my friend's portfolio, which has been hosted as a website. Everything is loaded, all the pics are there, all the art details are there. She also has her resume, her design page, everything being hosted as a website. So now her portfolio is accessible across the globe for anyone who wants to like check it out, buy it, or do any sorts of like inspiration sorts, right? So that's what we are going to do today. We are going to try out our own static web app right away. And while I keep talking, I'm going to quickly drop a note. I know that you might have a lot of questions. Please keep it flowing through Menti, through the chats, anywhere, and I will make sure that I answer all of them once we are done. So for today's demonstration purposes, we are going to create a resume, an HTML resume, and this resume is something which you can use in your projects so that you can share it with your tech communities, saying that your resume is available on a website and easily accessible. So I'm going to share the link of this template towards the end so that you can also go fork it, try it on your own. But for now, for the time period, I'm going to use this template and show how exactly we're going to do this, right? So all I have to do is click on use the template. I'm going to do resume Rishmi. Yeah. I am keeping it private right now because I'm creating it just for my purposes. And this is going to take just a couple of seconds. What it's going to do is it's going to fork that repository into your own personal GitHub repository, and you will get all the contents which are already present in that repo readily accessible for you. Now, all you have to do is you have to pick the code and do all the edits you want in your local system. So I'm going to clone the code details and go to VS Code quickly. I type git clone, and this is the resume that I want to clone, right? It's again going to take a couple of seconds. Yep, that's done. Now I go to the folder. It's called resume HB, and I'm going to open it in a new Windows. Awesome. Okay, so now what we can see in the screen is a new terminal, which is just a clone of the template that we just saw, right? It's literally nothing else. Okay, yeah, sorry, it was just taking time and I kept opening. Cool. So here you should be able to find a lot of step-by-step instructions on how to create as well, which I will let you guys explore in your own free time. But for the time being, I'm going to show how do we exactly take this code to the static web app cloud. Before that, I want to run it locally and see how exactly it looks like, right? This is where static web app CLI comes into picture. What the CLI tool is going to do is going to make sure that I can install, I can run it locally, I can use my Azure login, I can deploy it all the way to the cloud. All of this with just one terminal command, right? So for the folks who don't have it, this is the command. It's an npm package. If you go search for npm static web app CLI, you should be able to find the package. But otherwise, all the instructions are already in the document. All you have to do is click copy and install. Right now, I already have it installed, so I'm just going to go to the next step. So if you try doing swa -h, basically it is a help command which shows all the things that is available in the CLI, right? So as we can see over here, we have options to login, start, deploy, init the project. All the descriptions are also given here. What we are going to do right now is just run it in our local system, see how exactly it runs, and then once we are satisfied with how it works, we are going to deploy it to the cloud. So what I'm going to do is quickly run the command swa. Swa is this overarching umbrella command which runs init. What init does is it configures your build commands, it configures how exactly your application should be taken to the cloud. Then it goes build. So it does the whole building for you. You don't have to manually write a build command again. And finally, it asks you, do you want to deploy it? And if you click yes, you want to deploy, that's it. Your code is already out there as a site in the cloud, right? So now I am going to create my configuration. It's asking me, where do you have your code? And as I can see, the folder solution index.html. This is my resume. This is what I want to see. So I'm going to choose solution, right? And that's it. That's the only step I did. It auto detects my framework. It auto detects what all should be the configurations for building, what is my application, what should be the commands, and everything is right. So all I do is yes, the setting is right. It's doing my build for me. And now it's going to ask, do you want to deploy? I say no, because I'm not ready for deploying it. All I have to do is like run it locally and see how it works. Now for running it locally, I have to run the command swa start. And when I do swa start, what it basically does is it starts a portal in 4280 terminal. You can obviously configure which terminal you want, but it starts a portal locally. And now in my local host, I can see how the website looks like. There you go. This is the HTML resume that I have right now. And this is what I want to host as a website. But hey, this looks very bland, right? This is not what I want. Like there's so much content which I have to replace with my own content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly copy paste my resume related content and update it over here. Awesome. I'm going to kill the server and going to restart it again. Now when I do a swa start, it's going to fetch the latest content from my HTML. And there you go. This is my updated resume. This is where I'm talking about what I do, who I am, what are my skills, all the contact details in case people want to reach out to me, what my work experience is, education, etc. But hey, that's not just it, right? Now I want to give a list of the projects that I have worked on. How do I do that? I don't want to populate everything in an index.html. This is where an API call comes into picture. So what I do with an API call is I'm calling the back end. I am calling a URL in the backend and getting details from the API folder. This has a list of all the projects that I work on. And it's going to call the backend, that is the API folder, get the details and populate it on my front end. So now when I click this button, you will see all this description is coming, all of it from the backend, right? It's amazing. If I want to cross verify it, all I have to do is I write /API/projects. There you go. This is the JSON from which we just read the file, right? All I had to do is connect my backend to the front end, and both the servers are running in one single port. That is, in one application, I am running both the HTML front end as well as the function backend all together. That is the power of static web app CLI. It's the tool which helps you run and emulate whatever is happening in the cloud all in your local system, right? So now we are happy with how the application runs, and I'm fairly convinced that this is the site that I want to upload, right? So what I'm going to do is the next step is I'm going to deploy it to the cloud. Now, for deploying it, you have multiple ways of doing it. You can use the SWA CLI itself with just a SWA deploy command. You can use the Azure portal, which I'm sure you might have explored at some point of time. You just go to the resource and you click, you want to create a new static web apps. Or the third one, which I want to do right now, is using the Azure static web apps extension. So for the ones who don't have an extension, just click on the extensions tab and type out static web app. So here you should be seeing this extension called Azure Static Web Apps. All you have to do is install the Static Web Apps extension, and with this in place, you can deploy your Static Web Apps from your laptop with just one click, right? So I already have it installed. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to quickly commit my changes, put it in, and I'm going to say this is my first commit. Yeah, I did the push. Now all I have to do is git push. And with this git push command, whatever code changes I made right now is going to go to the cloud. How can I check that? If I go back to my repository, if I go to my repository and refresh it, I'm going to say that in the last 24 seconds, I have made a commit. And this commit has basically brought all the changes that I got to, which is basically in the solution. Now I have an updated index, right? Now what we're going to do is we are going to deploy this into the cloud. How do we do that? Basically, GitHub Actions comes into picture over here, because what GitHub Actions does is every time you do a git push, it is going to take your code from your local system to the cloud, right? So now, because we are doing it for the first time, we don't really have to wait for a git push because the code is already pushed. What I will do is I'll go to the extension, right? Actually, no, easier shortcut. Just click Control Shift and P. When you do Control Shift and P, it opens the script for running all the different commands. I am going to use create a static web app, choose my subscription, name it resume Reshmi 1. I am going to use one of the regions. It's asking me which language I'm using. And right now I'm not using a language. So how do I go about it? I go to custom, and then it's asking me what is your application? For all of these details, if you remember, we did a SWA command, right? And it did an init and it already configured what my application is, API location is, etc. So I'm just going to open that file and refer to the same thing. So my application is solution, my output location is a dot. And now, as you can see in the logs, it is creating my static web apps in the background. And once it is done creating, it's going to show a tick with, hey, your static web apps has been successfully created. Now your GitHub actions will be running. So let's give it a couple more seconds. Yeah, that's it, right? So what it's doing is now in my Azure portal, which I can show you guys, if I go to portal.azure.com, I should be having a static web app over there, which basically will be named resume. What was my, oh, I don't remember the name of my app. What was it? Yeah, resume Reshmi 1. Okay. Let's refresh it again. Oh, it's still creating. Okay, meanwhile, what we can do is we can quickly check out the GitHub Actions. So here you can see it has created a new GitHub Actions, and I can see how the condition looks like if I go to GitHub over here. In the Actions tab, you would be seeing a workflow which is running. I did not do anything, right? I did not even have a workflow. But now if I go back to my code, there is a folder called GitHub, and inside the GitHub, there is an automatically generated workflow, which is the CI/CD flow, which takes you that every time you do a push in your code, the code goes to the cloud under this name. This is going to be the name of my site. And this is going to be the place where I have to take my code from. This is the place where I'm going to take my backend from. And these are the commands that I want to run. This whole code has been auto-generated by static web apps to make sure that going forward, every time you do a git push, the code just reflects. Now let's quickly go back and see what the condition of the actions is. So here, if I go to the actions file, I can see that the build and deploy job is currently running. Once the run is complete, it's going to show a green tick again over here, and it's going to say, hey, your website has been created. Let's check if we can see. Okay, yes. Do you see this? This is a new static website which has just been created. It's called Resume Reshmi 1. The action is still running, so we probably cannot see the site, but it has already created a URL. This is going to be the URL where my resume is going to come in a couple more minutes. Right now, because it's running, you can see that the site is live and it's waiting for your content. The minute this run is complete, which is probably going to take like a couple more seconds, our site will be available. And now with this URL, you can basically share it with anyone and everyone, and they don't have to download a PDF of your resume anymore. They're only going to check this out and they're going to use this URL in wherever places they want to access. And the best part about having this URL is you can also link it to other stuff, right? Like with this one URL, I am making hyperlinks to drop a mail to me, check my GitHub repo, check my LinkedIn, maybe like even events. Like for suppose I hosted the anniversary event and I have added a link for it. If I click this, it's actually going to redirect me to the anniversary event. How dynamic is this, right? This is what we want. This is what we want to make sure our portfolio is strong. So that's the basic agenda. And while this runs, I am going to quickly go back to Vivek, see how we are doing in time, and if there are any questions which need to be answered while this whole thing is happening.
We just have to, we don't have much time. So yeah, I know it gets built and gets deployed onto the site.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea here, that you can deploy it through this.
Yeah.
And in the previous we
Yeah,
saw
I think I have Vivek. I think I have one another site which already does the same thing. Maybe like I can show that because that's something which I tested earlier today. So basically, this is a site which I created today morning to just do the dry run. And as you can
Yeah.
see, it also created a static web app and it has a specific URL. And in this URL, I have all my content. I click list of projects and it basically calls the backend and fetches me all the content, right? Everything is happening all on the cloud, all from your local system. And that's the crux and the power of static web apps. So while we wait for it, I think it's okay if we can like jump to the next set of things. And if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to share a bunch of URLs towards the end. And if you can go back to the repo over here, sorry, not this one. That is the one I created, right? If you go to the repo over here, it's a public template. You should be seeing the URL to this template. Feel free to go use it and make your own versions of static web apps. And if you want more links and resources on how to use this or how static web apps works, in the README, you should have a static web app resources section. It has links to the documentation. It has links to video series. It has links to the blogs and the latest updates for static web apps. And you have a lot more content which the Learn team and the advocacy team has prepared. So feel free to explore, go wild, fork this, play around, and let us know how your experience is. That's it from my end, Vivek.
Thank you, Reshmi, for this wonderful talk, and thank you for coming here. And Reshmi is here for in-person interaction as well. So people who are here after this session, you can meet her. And let us go to the next segment, which is my favorite segment, which is Cloud Skill Challenge. So all the things which you learned here, all the three different technologies, like what is cloud, Azure, and stuff like that, and then GitHub, and then the most important, Azure Static Web App. So I have compiled it as a part of a challenge, and I have compiled all the learnings of this as the Learn module as a collection. And I love the cloud skill challenges because you challenge yourself to learn something new, and that is the concept I really use whenever I launch cloud skill challenge. Whenever I do a session, I always launch a cloud skill challenge so that you challenge yourself to go back and learn something really new. Okay, so I'll move on, and the most important thing and very interesting one is the Imagine Cup. How many of you know what Imagine Cup is? Online audience as well, you can also answer in the chat and let us know about the Imagine Cup. How many of you know? Raise your hands. You're tired? We'll take a break soon. Okay, perfect. So and I'll just bring in an amazing Imagine Cup video.
Hello, my name is Pablo Veramendi, and I'm the Global Director for the Microsoft Imagine Cup. And I'm thrilled to be at the Student Summit to announce the launch of the 2023 Imagine Cup. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Imagine Cup, it is a global student developer competition where students just like you bring their world-changing ideas to life using the power of Microsoft Azure. Over the years, we've seen incredible solutions, from artificial intelligence to bionic arms, to innovative learning platforms and innovative remote health platforms. It's incredible to see what students bring every year to the competition. And at Microsoft, we truly believe that every student can be an entrepreneur, and we provide you the tools, the skills, and the platform to bring your dreams to life. All these students started out in the same place you are today, finding out about the Imagine Cup for the first time. If you were to ask them if you should participate, the answer would be a resounding yes. You know the challenges that your community faces, and you can bring solutions to that using technology. This year's competition has 4 categories: Earth, Education, Health, and Lifestyle. And it's up to you which category you want to compete in. Students 16 years or older from across the globe form teams of up to 4, and they come up with a 3-minute pitch, and they come up with a proof of concept for their Microsoft Azure solution to show to the judges to be evaluated at their national finals, regional finals, or online semifinals. And the top 3 teams move on to the World Championship. At the World Championship, those 3 teams are vying for the Imagine Cup itself, as well as $100,000 in cash and mentorship session with our chairman and CEO, Satya Nadella. I've been in that room where Satya is speaking with those students, and it's incredible to hear the advice that he has for them. It's also incredible all the supports that you get along your journey. We have mentorship, we have Azure credits for those that move on to the competition, and we're partnering with our friends at Microsoft Startups in the Founders Hub, so you can continue your journey as an entrepreneur with them in the Founders Hub. So we're really thrilled to bring this competition to you this year. You can register today at imaginecup.com. You can follow us on social at MSFT Imagine on Twitter and at Microsoft Imagine Cup on Instagram, and see all the amazing things that students are doing using Microsoft technologies. But the supports don't end there. When you register for the competition, you get access to a whole slew of technology content. You get a training curriculum on GitHub where you can learn how to take your project from 0 to 1, how to come up with an idea, how to form that team, and how to bring that project to life and what technologies you should use. We also have a Discord community where you can join and ask questions to the team at Microsoft. There's mentors on that Discord. You can also find your teammates if you don't have any teammates at the moment. So it's really awesome, all the tools and all the opportunities that are afforded by participating in the Imagine Cup. And again, that chance to compete on a global stage, to be part of this incredible competition, is something that you shouldn't pass up. So register today at imaginecup.com, and I can't wait to see what you bring to the Imagine Cup this year.
So I'm going to bring in Olan Rivaju. Hey, Olan, how are you? We can't hear you.
Hey, how about now? Hello, everyone. Hi, Vivek.
I mean, you're in Nigeria?
Yes,
You're coming here?
yeah, Lagos, Nigeria. I'm reporting from Lagos, Nigeria, and it's good to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here. And I wanted you to talk about Imagine Cup to the audience here and online audience as well. So, what's your experience with Imagine Cup been?
To be honest, it's something exciting and worth looking out for. But let me start like this. For a couple of years, I am that kind of person that I used to get inspired. I used to have a lot of ideas. And at the early stage of my life while on campus, those ideas actually suffer execution. It suffer execution because I do not have the skill and I don't have enough passionate people who can come together, with me to say, let's work on this because I can complement your skill. Nothing like that was available. And Imagine Cup is literally solving those challenges, making you to shape your world, making you to build new set of skills and even realizing your passion. So it is full of opportunities to further gain new skills. Like I've said, you can even develop existing, new skill set. You receive mentorship, you collaborate with other students, who are just as passionate as you are about making a difference in the world. And we've seen incredible solutions, from this team. I was privileged to mentor a team, during the Imagine Cup last year that was concluded. And it was amazing to see what these young, folks are doing right on campus. And I can see them already, finding their path into the industry because their ideas is no longer remaining as ideas, but now they can come together, work on projects and showcase it to the world. So I'd like to, end by saying that whatsoever you can imagine, your hands can accomplish it through Imagine Cup competition. So just keep inspiring, keep imagining things, and get involved, to participate.
Definitely, I think it's a very interesting thing because Imagine Cup gives you that platform where you can go and innovate, you can learn and build something, and be in part of the competition. And I know Sanket was talking about having different skill sets when he talked about how you can build different skill sets when you go and apply for it. And when you do this kind of work in on the Imagine Cup, when you build the projects, when you submit these projects, you do a pitch, and you learn a lot of things when you're a student. So that's the something which we never had as an option, but you have that option. So please make use of that option. So that's the gist of this. And by the way, you can go to this link which is there. Um, for registering for Imagine Cup or understanding more about Imagine Cup and other things. So you can go to this specific link which is on the screen. So thank you, Alan, and thank you very much for being here.
Thanks
And
for having
I'll
me.
talk to you later. Thank you for being here, and I know it's your busy day. Have fun.
Thank you.
So next up, what we have is pretty interesting. We have a panel discussion with the India Imagine Cup winners, and some of them are here in the room, and you can talk to them after the session as well. But for people who are online, I want to bring them all in. So Aditya is here, Ekansh is here, and I don't know where is Simran. Okay, I'm bringing in Simran. So let's remove this. Cool. So all three of you are here, and we all know about Aditya. How many of you know Aditya? Okay, so half the room knows Aditya, so I don't have to introduce. But yeah, but anyway, he's a developer advocate at Apprite, and Ekansh is an amazing developer. Last week I was having a discussion with him. So different kind of technologies, what he is working on, so many different things. Amazing. You should catch up with him. I don't know whether he's here. Are you here? Oh, he's here in Microsoft Office, so you can catch up with him. So, and we have Simran as well. So Simran is an analyst, and she also was the gold ambassador. All three of them were, and now they are all working in different places, and they have already graduated. I want to remove this slide and bring focus on all of us. And so I'm going to start the conversation with all of them. Like, you just go a quick intro of yourself before I deep dive into the questions. So Aditya, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. The lovely impromptu introduction there, Vivek. Hi everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It's really great to be here with all of you at Microsoft Student Summit. I am Aditya. I'm one of the developer advocates here at Apprite. And that basically means I get to have a lot of fun with our community, helping them build with Apprite, making sure they're having a comfortable time with Apprite. Aside from that, I've been around tech communities for the last 3 years, working with different pieces of tech like .NET, Azure, Twilio, and so on. And I did spend quite a lot of time as a part of Microsoft's Student Ambassadors program, which was definitely really, really impactful for my learning journey. And that's also what brought me to the Imagine Cup. So yeah, really glad to be here with all of you.
You want to go, Ekansh?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Ekansh. I am SD2 at Zeta. So we are building core banking infrastructure. Apart from that, I have been in the community for the past 4 to 5 years. I graduated last year, and I am a GitHub campus expert as well. Apart from that, we can catch up after the whole live stream.
Hi everyone, I'm Simran and I'm the only person of the team who you can't catch up with after the live stream since I'm joining from Hyderabad. So I graduated recently in 2022 and I work with Goldman Sachs as an analyst, and most of my work is software. Most all of my work is just software engineering work here, and I've been involved with communities for the past 3 odd years and have been a Gold Student Ambassador, as Vivek mentioned, and I'm a GitHub campus expert, like Ekansh. So yeah, it's nice to be here. Thank you for having us here today.
So my question to anyone can answer, by the way. So to all three of you is, what was your project was on? So can you just brief on that? What your project was? So just before the context, just to give the context for the audience as well, right? So all three of them submitted a project in Imagine Cup, and they went on to be the winners in the India finals, right? And they went to the next level, and probably they are going to talk about what they could have done better as well. But before we get there, so that is the context. So they did the project for Imagine Cup, and they did submitted it. And I just want to understand now is what is your project?
Okay, so let me clarify. So in Imagine Cup, there are no projects; they are products.
Products,
So
correct.
yeah. So also when there were world finals and all, we were given the pitch and all the documentation and everything, and it was mentioned there that think of it like a mini Shark Tank. So we are building products here in Imagine Cup. Yeah, it starts with a project, but it goes on to be a product. So let me just try to tell you what our product was. So our product was called as Code Capture, and we wanted to bridge the gap between the people who did not have a lot of resources and they were using pen and paper for coding, with the resources through which they can learn to code on their existing resources such as mobile phones. So mobile phones are very prevalent in India, and we wanted to bridge the gap where people did not have laptop and still they wanted to learn via that existing platforms and resources.
Great. I mean, um, my understanding is that you had you wanted to capture the code when somebody is writing the code on the paper, and you're going to take a picture of that, and you convert it into a code, and probably it goes on. You can put it back onto the VS Code and other things, and then you can edit it and other things and push it to GitHub, or push it to
Yeah.
somewhere place wherever you want to use. Pretty um,
Yeah,
pretty
it did
interesting.
start like that. Yes, it
Yeah,
did start as a VS Code
that was my
extension.
question. Like,
Yeah.
and how did you start this project?
That's, you actually ended up telling the starting point of this entire journey for us, because this idea is something we started working on during the Visual Studio Code Hackathon, where the theme was essentially focused around ideas by hackers for hackers. And we started looking at scenarios that we had all experienced as kids, because like the truth is that in most places, in most schools across this country, you simply don't have enough computers, right? Even though computer science education and computer science are growing fields. I remember when I was in primary school, the first time I got exposure to computer science education of any form was in class fifth, where we had a section size of 40 to 50 people and three computers in total. And like, when we're talking, this is around 2010, and every single one of those systems was basically an MS-DOS system, where we're not even talking Windows here. That's what it was. So the truth is that most schools across this country, and in fact in other developing nations, don't have the economic resources to avail a large number of computers, and that's kind of the problem we wanted to look at, because it's one that we all had experienced at some point or the other in our own journeys. So we started off with this VS Code extension, and we worked on an application, and then an extension essentially which could take a number of pictures, extract the code, save it in files. And we basically fixed ourselves on C code at the moment. So, we just extracted it and saved it in a file of .c type. And somehow, fortunately, we ended up winning that hackathon, the prize of which was a mentorship session with Amanda Silver, who is a CVP in Microsoft Dev Division. This is the group, by the way, that manages the development of Visual Studio, VS Code, and I believe it heavily contributes to .NET and TypeScript and all of these fronts, GitHub and all as well. So our meeting with Amanda was very, very insightful because it really opened our horizons to what potentially this idea could do, where it could create an impact. She further connected us with Travis Loudermilk, who is a UX researcher at Microsoft and has written the customer development playbook, which is used for customer development across Microsoft's Dev division. Aside from that, in the same meeting, we also had Jacqueline Russell, who is a program manager on the Microsoft MakeCode team. So if any of you are aware of Scratch or block coding, MakeCode is a very similar environment that lets you get that absolute start into CS, and it's catered towards school children and absolute beginners. So, our meeting with them was really helped us figure out what direction this idea could take. Travis, in fact, actually sent us his playbook as well, all the way from the US. We got copies in India, and such a lovely person he was. He did that for us, and so we started researching and understanding what the potential of this idea could be, which was followed with a few different variants of this application. We tried working on a mobile application, a cross-platform app with Xamarin. We later on switched towards a web app. And the reason we did that is because one of the biggest areas that was talked about in both of these meetings was the hour of code, which is a computer science education initiative managed by code.org. And it's arguably the largest computer science education oriented initiative in the world. It runs in 180 plus countries. My start in CS was because of the art of code as well. So we started focusing towards that. We tried to work on a little POC which could stand up in an initiative like the art of code, which is what took us to start developing this web app. Because we started working on the mobile app and then we realized that as per H4C's instructions, something that could work on more platforms was actually going to be had a higher chance of getting accepted because it would have been far more accessible on multiple platforms, right? Like if it's a mobile app, you're just running it on maybe Android or iOS, but then there's the web entirely. So we then moved on towards building a web application, which basically used the browser's console to compile JavaScript. And we actually ended up making that POC during our code. Because of this, we also created an educational activity, and we actually were able to directly work with 250 students across schools and colleges in India. And this was within workshops that we ran. Aside from this, our application was also accessible, of course, on our Code's own platform because it got featured there. So we had people across the world trying it out because it wasn't just focused in India, right? It's active in 180 plus countries. We then took further inspiration from this idea, went back to the customer development playbook, started researching more, working more with people, doing interviews, figuring out what was necessary for this application to grow. And we worked on a third variant where, in order to work with compiled languages like C++ and Java, which are used and taught across schools in the country even today, we entirely changed the infrastructure and the solution we built from a technical standpoint. And that MVP is what went forward towards the Imagine Cup. So that was kind of the journey of how we built and went through with the development of Imagine Cup toward, of this product towards Imagine Cup.
So I understand the journey. So basically you started with building it something in a hackathon, and then it went on to meeting people, and then you realized there is a potential in the product.
Yeah.
And then you went ahead and discussed about it, and then you went ahead and had a custom, kind of you tested the product with 150 students or somebody, and then you were able to get this out and build a proper pitch for it, right? Because you had the data, you had everything in the backend. So just for the audience, Simran, what was your role? And Ekansh, what was your role? And Aditya, what was your role? Let's start with Simran. What role each one of you played when you built this product?
I think Every single one of us wore various hats and did almost everything, considering we were still students. But if I had to pinpoint one thing, that was just the thing that only I contributed to, it would probably be the system design, the database design side of things, and most of the front end work. So that was things that I did, and it really helped me shape up and understand where my interests lie as well, because we got to do almost everything that goes into making a product and how it's built, how it's developed. So yeah, I mean, if I had to specifically point out, it would be front end and a lot of the system design side of things.
Yeah, talking about me, I would consider my role to be a very dynamic role because everything was shifting. So I had to work on Azure functions, but I don't know, either the docs were not helping me enough, or I was just playing around with them. So I wasn't able to configure Azure functions well with Python, and which led us to change our whole backend to some other thing. So now I had a role to actually make a compiler out of a VM. So that's some sort of backend role. I am still a backend engineer only, so some sort of backend role. But apart from that, if we go into the Imagine Cup pitch documentation, we can see the market research and all these stuff, and the GTM, the go-to-market strategy. All these stuff were the things that I contributed, although I am an SD. So uh, yeah, so the thing about Imagine Cup is that it's one thing that you make a product, it's another thing that you sell that product.
I think our current roles have very little to do with what we did for Imagine Cup.
Yeah.
Um, it's a good thing Ekansh mentioned that we had to shift the Azure functions to something else, because then I did the entire something else there. I built the entire serverless architecture for our backend with .NET, and I used Simran's database work with MySQL and implemented that with our functions to ensure that we had a running infrastructure between our compiler and the front end application we had. And aside from that, I was the designated pitcher for the team. So I got to be in the firing line. Yay! So that was definitely fun. I still remember the day before our education track finals, the national finals. I think I had to practice 25 different pitches or so across multiple groups, and uh, safe to say, and we actually, yeah, we entirely changed our pitch overnight because of those. But it was a very good thing that happened, because had we not practiced like that, I know we wouldn't have won our track. So yeah, pitching was something I had to handle, and a lot of that serverless infrastructure, that's what I built out.
So talking about your pitch, right? So what does judge usually look into? So when you go there and when you do the pitch, what is exactly you feel judges looking into?
If I have to talk about it from my perspective, I think one thing to really come back to, it's something what Ekan said earlier, is that this isn't just a project, it is a product. Which means you're not just looking at what's running in there in the code. You're talking about how this can stand as a solution in the real world, how it can sustain in the real world. So when we went about our pitch, we of course had our story, right? Why we came across this idea, but then we had to keep in mind how this idea was relevant in the real world, where the need existed, followed by which we talked about how exactly the problem we wanted to solve was being solved with code capture. We then took to show what potential market there was, how extensive this could be, what there, how many people could, of course, be impacted by this. And we talked, we went on further to discuss how we could actually take this out there, which means we practically had a business model being discussed in this pitch as well. We included stuff like pricing plans and so on, because this is honestly something that a lot of teams forget, and it's very necessary to repeat this again and again. It is a product that you're taking forward. It's exactly why it was recommended to watch Shark Tank pitches before, And that is because the judging panel we had was not just technologists. I remember in our panel, aside from technologists, we had a VC sitting in there. We had multiple CXOs. We had executives from Microsoft itself as well. We had someone very, very senior at NSDC as well. So it was a very diversified panel that way. We faced technical questions, a couple of them, but we also had to talk about our GTM when we were questioned. And like, this is straight up, this was a question from a VC out there. So, by the way, if someone's not aware, VC stands for venture capitalists. These are folks who invest in businesses. So just in case there is someone who was not aware about that. So that's the sort of panel we had. And for that matter, you need to be ready for anything and everything about your product, whether it's in regards with what you've done, potential edge cases there could be, because that is something that was actually asked to us. We had to take into account an edge case that could arrive, right? Because we're an internet-based applications, and what if we're trying to work with people in low internet areas? That was a question that came up straight away. So you need to be prepared with technical answers. You need to be prepared with answers around your business model, your go-to-market, how you could actually scale this idea in the real world in an organic manner. All of these things came up. I think that was most of it. Do you, Hanselman, do you want to add anything else there?
Yeah. I would like to share something. So Aditya mentioned that we changed our core pitch overnight, and we had an amazing mentor. So so the mentor was previous year's Imagine Cup winner, world final winner, world champions.
Piyush Jha from Team Hollow. Yeah.
Exactly. And they told us that what you are building is a product, and you need to talk about how this is going to be more accessible and highly accessible to everyone. Also, yes, you should know about tech, but you should know about the product ins and outs as well. So just FYI, out of the 2 pitching rounds, we only got 1 technical question in total. So the emphasis is, yes, it's your product, but it's still a product and you are selling it.
Yeah, here's the thing, like the tech is the prerequisite. I mean, you have to have that there. That's understood, right? It's everything else on top that is very, very easy to forget for a lot of us. And that's really, really, really crucial.
So before I open the floor to questions from the audience and from the online audience as well, I have a question for each one of you. If you have to go back and do it again, what will you fix? Just give you a one word or maybe one sentence as well. But what would you go back and fix when you go back and if you want to redo it again?
I think one thing that I would love to do for sure is that probably at the start, as we started off, we should have been a little more responsible with our responsibility allocation across the team. I think if we could have improved on that, if we could have distributed work a lot better among the 3 of us, it definitely would have helped a lot. And that's not just because we wanted to put work on someone or the other. Like, if I talk about me personally, I know I was underconfident about touching anything code. And I know when Akansh transitioned a lot of the work around the serverless infrastructure to me, that's kind of when I realized I could do it. And had I done that months back, it would have made a very, very big difference. I think it's just responsibility allocation could have been a lot better, and that would have enabled us to streamline our own productivity on this front.
Apart from that, fortunately for us, the Imagine Cup timeline was stretched by 3 weeks, which is why we were able to complete the product.
That's
we
very true.
needed the entire thing in the last 3 weeks. So, I mean, there was a lot of redevelopment on our end because we went through a number of. It took us a while to actually understand what the complete product would look like. So while we had a central idea in place and we knew what problem we were solving, we also needed to understand what our users needed, apart from like just giving them a compiler that captures code and runs it on their phone would have been wouldn't have served the purpose we were trying to serve, the problem
Yeah.
we were trying to solve. So it took us a while to actually get around all of that and actually start developing and then redeveloping because we realized something wasn't working out. So it took us quite a while to do all of this, and the extended timelines definitely helped there.
Yeah.
So I will obviously open the floor to questions. If you have any questions, I'll take three questions. Um, n- Online audience, three questions, not offline audience, because you can go back and meet both of them just after this
Yeah.
session. So I'll just open for online audience, but is there on that? So yeah, I mean, I take few things from this specific discussion, because one is obviously a great platform for you to go and explore various skill sets, and that's an amazing platform. So you should go back and try this out. And you need to have multiple. You will build multiple skills when you do this, right? So one is how to build a product, how to how to get your audience for your product, and is it a real problem, right? They went and tested it with 150 people, and then whether it is a real problem or not, all of these things. And anyways, we are going to do the design thinking as well, but I'll uh, just wait for the questions to come in. There are some questions. You posted the question. Okay, so let me bring in three questions. Okay, this is a good one. How did you three meet, being from different colleges and
That's a good
cities?
one.
And how did you collaborate to bring this idea? I thought you both, all three of you, from the same college, but wow, that's a good question.
Different cities, different colleges, different backgrounds.
Somebody is really
You
fond of
know,
you.
Vivek, the interesting thing is you actually gave the answer in our introductions. But yeah,
With
when you mentioned
like
a
we were
specific
gold,
program.
we were Microsoft student partners and then gold Microsoft Learn student ambassadors. And the reason
Yeah.
we actually participated in the VS Code hackathon was because we wanted to meet Amanda Silver.
Yeah, and we got to know about that hackathon because of the program, because
Because of the program,
Pablo, and
because
you know,
Pablo
you
had,
all probably saw Pablo earlier in the video. He, along with
yeah.
overseeing the Imagine Cup, also leads and manages the Student Ambassadors program, and he kind of threw that in. He just shared that with us, and we thought, why not? So
Yeah, and also because of the pandemic that time, there were a lot of discussions going on that what we can do in this pandemic to
yeah,
make an impact or something like that. And we had been discussing this for quite a long time. And fun fact is that VS Code hackathon started at around 8:30 or 9 p.m. at night in India, and we started to work on it at 10:30.
yeah, we
So
started.
yeah, we did not have any idea what we are going to work on, but we were discussing what we are going to work on, and then throughout the night we weren't able to actually work on VS Code because we weren't able to tackle how
Yeah,
to develop the extension, and
the
somehow it
truth is,
worked.
Ekansh and I don't know JavaScript,
Yeah,
and only
exactly.
Simran did. So
I, I
we were
learned
there for
I
moral
learned
support.
TypeScript in the duration of the hackathon, learned the VS Code API in the duration of the hackathon, developed the, I think I should have all the three Surface earbuds ahead. Now I'm like, if you're
Oof.
really talking about it here.
Also we did not have an idea that we are going to win the Surface Earbuds and that
Oh yeah.
particular hackathon. We were most interested that we are going to meet Amanda Silver. And
We're going to get a
when
chance to.
the hackathon got ended, then we got to know that yeah, there is something other than meeting Amanda Silver as well.
Yeah.
Let me summarize. So it's interesting that if you join the as a student, if you're part of the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador program, you will meet amazing set of people, and when you meet amazing set of people, amazing things happen, right? So that's what happened to them, right? So thanks for coming in. And There are a couple of questions in the chat, but I will let you folks go into the YouTube and answer those questions. Because of the time, I just want to make sure that we move on, and I have next 15 minutes only to close this event. So let me go to the next segment. Thank you for being here, Simran. Thank you, Ekansh and Aditya Brai, for being here. And yeah, you can all catch up with them. And thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
for having us. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Vivek.
Thanks, Vivek.
So, what inspires you to want to enter Imagine Cup? You can go back to Menti and answer this question for me. Going back. So, let me share my inspiration. If I have to go back, you know, I have 16 years of experience. So, the Imagine Cup started 20 years back. So, if I had known Imagine Cup was there, uh, I would have at least tried for 4 years of my engineering, because this is a platform where you can go back, code, build, and deploy stuff, and obviously go and pitch your idea and become a founder, right? And I showed you Founders Hub. If you have an idea, you get mentorship, you get credits and other things, right? That also is something which you can make use of. And this is something which inspires me to go back, right? If I'm a student, and then I will definitely go back and give it a try, because I just want to be a founder and make sure that I create jobs in India. That's the inspiration everybody wants to have, right? So I'll move to the next segment, and if you want to have get more tips about Imagine Cup, there's a GitHub repo, how to do the pitches, how the process is, what other things are there. Those are things which is obviously been listed there. I'm going to share this link as well, so you can take a look at it. So I am going to bring in, you know. Imagination, collaboration. It's an activity. This is an activity for all of us. So we are going to do this activity, and I have the team there. They're also there. This is going to be an interesting one, because they talked about pitch, right? Having an idea, having a pitch, and we go and drive the pitches for the real world scenario. But it is not about it's basically not about just having an idea and just say, okay, I have an idea, I'll go and design tech for it. So that's not how things work in the real world, right? The way it works is there is a process, there is a way to plan how this will work, and how you should be going about building a product. It's not, Reshmi is here, and you can talk to her how she thinks about building a product, how she thinks about bringing a feature, right? Because it's not like she got up in the morning and said, okay, this feature is nice, I'll bring it. No, right? They do a lot of design thinking behind it, and then they come back, and then they bring those things on the product, right? So that is what design thinking and the process is, and we're going to do a dry run of this, of doing a design thinking. But yeah, I'm going to explain you with a simple example here. Okay, so let us take, I like samosas. I love samosas. And that is the reason why I run a show called samosachai.net. But imagine I love samosas, and I have two options, right? One, either I can go and buy samosas from different vendors, or I can buy from vegetables and other things, and bring everything home and cook, right? Or I also need to buy tawa to build, to cook. I also need oil. I also need all the things which is required for making a samosa, right? So for people who have joined online from different country, samosa is Indian snack. It's a evening snack. We have it with coffee and tea with friends and colleagues, and uh, you know family, everyone, right? So coming back to the main question, right? If I have two different things, one I can go and buy with the vendor, and the other thing is I can go and go to vegetable shop and buy this, go to where there is where you get oil, buy from that vendor. You need a tawa and other different things which is required. I'm going to do that and purchase it, or I can have a cook who will do that for me, and he'll also cook the um, the samosa for me, right? So there are three different things here. One is understanding the needs of the user, right? And my need is to have samosa, but there are different ways to have samosas. There are different difficulties because I don't have time to do all of these things. I can't go to a vendor and buy it, nor I can go to vegetable shop and the crockery shop and to another oil where you get oil. There are three different shops, right? There is not one shop, right? There are three different shops. I have to go to three different shops, and then and then have samosas, right? There are three different issues. Now, when you're building something, you just go back and think about it, how you can improvise this or how you can solve a problem for me who likes samosa, the person who likes samosa, but don't have time to do all of these things, how you can solve the problem, right? So it's very simple. We all use it every day, right? We use Swiggy, right? So we all use it every day. The reason why this app is amazing is because it solves this problem for me, and I can go to any vendor, I can purchase it through just an app, or I can even purchase vegetables, I can even purchase whatever oil and everything. Simple, made life simple, right? So that's the innovation, that's the design, thinking process, where you have a problem and how to put different set of use different type of difficulties, and how you can build a digital app which will solve all this problem to the user. So basically the idea is having an empathy, having understanding the user, what is his problem, having an empathy for the user. It's empathy, right? I can't have samosas because of time. I can't have samosas. That is the empathy. And then there is, you need to define it. You need to ideate on it, build a small prototype of it, and repeat it. So that is how you can build a product. So right now, what we are going to do is we're going to follow these three things. Go to Menti. I think most of you have it. If you don't have, this is the one. Can you see? Okay. So all of you are there. I'm thinking people who are online are also following this, and you're online, and you're all here on this page. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you three different questions, and my problem statement is not samosa. It is pet lover. So there is a pet lover. What are the tasks or what are the difficulties the pet lover will face? Is my question, right? So I'm going to bring in that. Sorry, I'm already in the question. So you keep answering. What is pet lover, and but what I'm going to show you now is it's coming here. All whatever you're answering is coming here. So this is the whiteboard, and this is Microsoft whiteboard, and there are a couple of things. So there is travel issue, there is food for a pet lover to feed the pets. There's food issue, there's adoption. Nice one. Anything else coming in? So I'll give 2-3 more options here. Great. Vet scheduling, amazing. Anybody else wants to add medicines? Buy medicines. So that's interesting one, because how to buy medicines online for pets. It's interesting one, right? Cool. Cleaning, nice. Taking them for a walk is also a challenge because I don't have time. So how do I make sure these pets, somebody takes this up and take it out, right? So there are a couple of more coming in. Let's wait for a minute. Cool. So we have a bunch of things. So let me move on to the next question, Olan Rivaju. Is it great? we have good number of answers, right?
We're capturing that.
Perfect. So we are going to the next question. What are the challenges now? So I'm going to move my slide. So this is how design thinking works. So I'm going to add more. We're going to add 3 to 4 more. So what are the difficulties the owner might encounter? Right now we said what are the tasks he do, right? Basically takes the pet to veteran, somebody has to provide stuff, and there is a illness and other things we talked about, bunch of other things we talked. But now what is the issue? There's medicine. Obviously buying medicine is the issue. It's difficult, right? Even for an offline buying medicine is a difficult, right? For pets, I don't know which store sells. If I'm not a, I don't have a pet, but if I purchase a pet and I don't know where to buy medicines, right? So that's a interesting problem to solve. And obviously, so there is vaccination, good doctor, finding good doctors, finding good hospitals, all are difficult challenges, right? So interesting. So this is this is how you design think it. You first put out the what the user does, right, and what he does, and now we are talking about what are the challenges he faces and how do you solve it. So let goes to solving it, right? So now there is interesting solutions which we're going to talk about. Let's see some of the solutions which is coming in. So let me go to the next set question. How technology solves this problem for you? Bunch of things. GPS tracking. Okay, somebody says how you can solve a problem for a dog if it is getting lost, and other things. You can build a GPS tracking. Interesting. There are a couple of answers. Okay, reminders to take them to the vet or to take them to the to the walk or to the vet or for vaccine, right? It is a good one. And hire a person to walk. Wow, nice. That's an interesting, right? It's an interesting model, like a Swiggy app, right? You can go and hire someone, or a Rapido app, where you can hire someone to walk your dog, right? Interesting one. Cool. So this is how you design thing. Okay. So I'm just moving on to the next phase where we have done the design thinking. We know what to do and how to build this up. And I'm going to bring in Olan Rivajo here on basically how do you pitch, right? So there are two pitches as an example. Okay, this is an example, but I would let Olan Rivajo to talk about it.
Thank you very much, Vivek. Can I confirm that you can hear me loud and clear? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So we've just gone through a very important process of ideation. It's called design thinking, where we find what is the pain point. Just by asking those three questions that Vivek led, we've seen responses. And from those responses, you are empathizing with the end users. Now that we understand their challenges and we've been able to find out some of the ways we can address those challenges, one thing you validated here is that the solution you are bringing is actually meeting a need because you have identified the need and the solution is matching up to that need. Then how do you convince, how do you make this known, to people that I have this solution and this is your problem, then this solution can solve the problem. It's about pitching these solutions to people. And for example, what we have right here, everyone loves pets, right? I do. So why on earth will you pay someone to pet sit? Why not have them pay you? That's a question here. Next time you are going on holiday, match with a local petless pet lover to ensure your pet is pampered while you are away. This it's something that sounds nice. You are not even thinking about maybe the cost, but you are looking at the experience that get delivered. When you're away, so your pet is actually not suffering. Someone is actually taking care of the pet, and that's a challenge, which is being solved right here. So the way you throw out or the way you help the consumer, the end user, to see the value is through storytelling. And that's what we're doing right here. Saying, you love pets. Yes, everyone does. So why on earth will you pay someone to pet sit? Why not have them pay you? And you can see right there that next time you are going on holiday, you can match, with a local pet lover to ensure your pet is pampered while you're away. This is one good way. Vivek, what do you think about this pitch?
That's an amazing thing, right? So basically, there is definitely a thing, right? So I usually pay for somebody to look after. You might not know they are the right set of people um, who wants to really play with the pet. So there are people who loves pet, but they don't want to take that as a responsibility. But 1 or 2 days they want to, enjoy with the dog or enjoy with the cats and enjoy with different set of pets. Different people have interest in. So that's an interesting marketplace which you can build and people can go. And how do you pitch it is here. It's a very simple pitch, because when you pitch, you get very less time to talk about your product, right? So that's the idea behind how to pitch. And here is one more example, but due to time I just don't want to go into the another example and things, but I put this as in the screen so that you can go back and read this pitch, understand what this is. And this is on YouTube anyway, so you can go back and take a look at it. And thanks, Olan Rivaju, for coming up here and helping us with the pitch. Thank you very much.
Thanks
And
for
I'm going
having
to
me.
go to the next segment because we are running late. So I'm going to run through the next segment. It's not time to say goodbye yet, so we have some more things to share. So what are you excited for next? Want to go back and answer that? Quickly answer that question. There's a MT 2. Cool. Bunch of things. Keep in touch with Reactor. Participate in Imagine Cup. Come on, take that Imagine Cup. Move the meter. Right? Good stuff. So cool. So if you have to describe the Student Summit in one word, what will you describe it in? Go ahead and describe it. It's the same, and I will take a look at it later how when you describe it. So please go ahead and describe in one word, how did you feel about this Student Summit? Done. Cool. Let me go to the next stuff. So what's next coming is Student Developer Day. It's on 25th November, and it's going to happen here. And again, we are going to meet, but this is going to be Imagine Cup edition. So we are going to do 2 hours of learning on Imagine Cup. Like you come with an idea, you build the prototype, and you submit it. So that is my idea of having this kind of a event on 25th. So now you have got the time to think about different ideas and different products, and you think about it. 25th, we will all get together and build on top of that, build a prototype and other things, learn our pitch, how to do the pitches. You want to come and pitch here, let's do the pitches. And that's what I'm planning to do. Okay, so this is the just the gist of what's coming there. So please do join. And all the links which I shared today, there were a bunch of links I shared, is on this GitHub repo. And I'm going to update all the other links which were given by Sanket, and there were a bunch of links which were shared to me. and I'm going to update the GitHub repo with this specific links. So here is a GitHub repo for you to go back and access the complete resource. Okay, done. You've taken this, pictures and all the stuff. Very good. And thank you everyone whoever was involved with this. It's thank you Parth, Rashmita, Vivek at the back end doing helping us, Vishwas who is watching the YouTube and making sure that it's all fine from the audio perspective, Tina, there is Shreyas and Subendu, and then there is Koti, and bunch of people who helped us to run this event. So thanks everyone. Thank you Olan Rivaju. Thank you Bethany. Thank you Vidushi. Pragati is here. Thanks for being here. Aditya Oberoi, Yekansh and Simran, everybody is here. So I'll just close this event here for the online audience. For offline audience, you are still here. We have you can meet people here that they are here at the reactor itself. So that's it from my end. Thank you for being here. Thank you everyone. Thank you all.